Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ted Santos, and I am your host. I'm your host tonight, and we are going to do a little bit of YouTube and chill. It's Friday night, and we chill on YouTube, and we talk about some of the most intimate parts of a relationship. I even kick a beat with that sometimes. Sounds something like this. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday night, and it's time to do some YouTube and chill. We do that every Friday where we talk about some of the most intimate aspects of relationships. We love to talk about sex. We've discussed some celebrity relationships. We've talked about sex from many different aspects. And tonight, I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to hear what was on your mind. And some of the things that were on my mind was, there are a lot of things happening in the news between celebrities, between vaccines, athletes. We have people out there exploiting athletes. So there are all kinds of things that are happening globally. We have stock markets reaching new highs. We have Bitcoin. We have health and fitness. We have many things out there that can be on our mind. So everyone has something on their mind. So tonight I'd like to hear what's on yours. And I know for me, I made a couple of posts on Facebook, and the responses were interesting. And all I did was ask a question. the specific question, I'm going to make sure I do it right. I asked, what did I? What's going on, Review? Good to see you in the house. I asked, what's more important? I just wanted to make sure I had the wording correctly. I asked the question like, so what's more important for a woman? Who's more important in a woman's life? Is it her father? Is it her husband? Or is it her children? And most people answered the question. But some people said, well, God is more important, or she's more important, herself is more important. And that wasn't the question. And when I said, hey, look, I'm asking to see how well women can make decisions when you give them choices. And some people thought it was harsh. Even there was a guy who attempted to defend the ladies because he said the woman should pick herself, and that wasn't the question. Right? If a person doesn't take care of themselves, you're going to die. All the people that didn't take care of themselves are not here to listen to this. They were not there to read the post. So I find it very interesting the amount of men that still feel they have to help women when women are not actually addressing what you put on the table. So uh, I call that incompetence. And I looked up the word incompetence to see what it means. Inability to do something successfully, ineptitude. The definition of incompetent is someone or something not qualified, inadequate, or insufficient for the given purpose. Getting behind the wheel of a car and being incompetent, right? So I find it amazing that you know how we talk about, well, we hear women say communication is important, and when you ask a question, she doesn't answer the question. So that was kind of one thing on my mind. Wanted to know the things that you guys had on your mind. I found an interesting video that talked about relationships. This is what dating will look like in 10 years. And perhaps part of it is, women are killing off their attractiveness in many, many different ways. And even as men, when we say, hey, it's just like I asked the question, what's more important? I asked who's the most important person in a woman's life, her husband, her father, or her children? If we taught that the choice of a spouse is the most important decision you'll make in your life, I think people may see that question differently, because if you're a woman who's married and then you have children and you say, well, my children are now more important than the husband, then that's a woman who does not understand the role of a father in the children's life. Children that grow up with their father in the home have higher IQs, they're better at problem solving, they're less distressed and distraught, they're less likely to have depression. This is generally what happens. It also takes a lot of stress off the mother. So a single mother doing it all on her own and having to work creates a whole list of problems by its own. So if the woman doesn't understand that it takes a man and woman to make the children, and you take care of them together, and that man, your husband, that man, the father of the children, influences your life. You go to bed with him every night. You have sex with him. Your choice of where to live, careers, how money is managed, every aspect of your life. Even if you're a woman who works, you're going to talk to him about your career, about your job, problems at work, changes, new jobs, promotions, all of that and your sex life is going to influence how you feel on a day-to-day, week-by-week basis. Your children don't have that impact on you. And when people don't understand that, they tend to say, well, my children are everything. And a lot of mothers enable, especially their sons, to stay home and not get jobs because they still want to have a man in the house, which points to why men are so important in a woman's life. Yeah, and exactly a view, right? So women undermine the father of the husband, and that's why I asked the question. And if she thinks her father is more important than her own husband, then she's setting up a single mother. Same thing saying your children. I mean, if you diminish the father as though he has no value, what you're going to do is create an environment where the children feel abandoned by their father because he's gone. And that abandonment creates an emotional stress, emotional trauma on the child. What's going on, Justin? The topic, it's an sort of an open mic night. I'm asking what's on your mind. So I'd love to hear, the way I wrote this up is I'd love to hear what's on your mind. If you have a question, you have a solution, engage me. Ask me your toughest question. I want to say about anything, uh, maybe even quantum physics. But if you have something that's on your mind that you like to discuss, a question, a challenge, it could be relationships, it could be business, it could be family. I'm willing to assert most things I'm equipped to engage you in. What's going on, PJ? Good to see you in the house. Hey, a view, exactly. That's exactly what happens. And my concern is when you start to have generations of children that are emotionally traumatized because they feel abandoned by their father. Look, if you're it doesn't matter if the mother or father leaves or the mother or the father dies, that child has lost a parent. There's a form of abandonment. I lost both my parents when I was 21, and I was the oldest. My brother was 19, my sisters were 12 and 16. And no question, there was a sense of abandonment, especially for the youngest one that was 12. At some point, I asked the 12-year-old when she was 15 to come live with me. I thought I could help bridge that gap and have her feel less abandoned. Um, But one of the things that I learned is, as the people I knew, especially older than me, when they lost their parents, even though they were in their 50s and their parents may have been in their 80s or 90s, they still felt abandoned. There's something called family dynamics. So if a mother puts the father out, or the father leaves, or he dies, it creates this void in the family, and some families will try and fill that void with someone else. Like, so when my father died, he was the oldest of his siblings, and my father has a sister she's much older than me, except she in some ways, she she made an unspoken request for me to fill my father's role. I'm Teddy the third. My grandfather's the first. My father's second. I'm third. So my aunt asked. She told me I was junior. I was no longer the third, and she started to engage me in a way. My father used to tease her a lot, so I felt like she wanted me to tease her, and I did. It was hilarious to watch me tease my aunt. Like, but this is a woman who was, a full adult and lost her brother. And it created this family dynamics, this gap, this void, and she was asking me to fill it. So when you do that with a father in the home, some mothers try to get the son to fill that gap. You hear how many single parents tell their little boys, "You're the man of the house." Um, I know a woman who single mother, one son, one child, and she said she told her son, "You're the man of the house now." And then she started dating and brought men into the house, and the son didn't like him. As he grew up, he later told her, you told me I was the man of the house, and you started bringing men in the house, and you never asked my permission. You didn't ask me anything. So how could you tell me I'm the man of the house and then discard, whether I like this guy or not? So, that becomes another form of trauma to the kid. And a lot of women, any woman that says that I want to have a child on my own is very selfish. Some women, it seems like they try to consume their child's life because they're alone and they don't want to be alone. And so instead of getting cats, they attempt to get their child to stay dedicated to them, which that becomes a whole nother problem. The child doesn't get to fully live their life. Their mother is guilting them. If you're not here for me, I'm your mother. Yeah, that nonsense. So and it becomes, right, a circle, that mentality, that mental illness, mental health gets passed down for generations. And what kind of people are we going to create if for generations kids are emotionally traumatized, and so on and so on? So not sure what happened. I had a little poor glitch connection there. Um, what do we have going on? Yep, exactly, PJ. They guilt the child. And I've seen that. I remember dating a woman who, you watch the mother attempt to guilt her. Uh, it's like you don't even want your children to have their own life. That's just completely inappropriate. It's out of line. You chose to be a single mother, a single woman, and not date, or to be unappealing to men, and then you want your children to bridge that gap and give you your comfort. You're responsible for your own life. And I'll say this, and some people have problems with it. No one can make you happy. Absolutely, positively, no one can make you happy. That means they can't make you sad. They can't make you angry. No one can do that. But we're told, get into a relationship and you'll be happy because the relationship should make you happy. And women often believe that that's the man's job. What is it? Happy wife, happy life. Men need to start telling women, I am not responsible for your happiness. That's your job. And if you are, I use the word incompetent, if you are too incompetent to create your own happiness, then do not look at me. And incompetence is the incompetence is the inability to do something successfully, ineptitude. So any woman who comes to the table demanding, asking, meekly, passive aggressively, attempting to say it's your job to make her happy, she can kiss your ass. That's an inability to do something well, because you cannot be in another person's head. Uh, People make themselves happy. I think in one of my last shows, I told you, if you just say, I'm so happy, I'm so happy, I'm so happy, I'm so happy, if you say that, you're going to be happy. And no one did anything to make you happy. Like nothing changed in your life. That's how far happiness is from you. It's it's so it's just always in you. You can never lose it. That's why you can just say, I'm so happy, and be happy, because you actually never ever lost it. No one can give it to you, no one can take it away from you until you say someone can take it to you. Hey, PJ, that is the problem. And maybe the biggest problem is simps don't even get sex a lot of times. And that's what makes them dangerous to a woman, because the woman holds it like the carrot and they never actually end up having sex. So big problem. So there's a lot of incompetence around relationships. And the more we've gotten away from roles. If you say to a woman there's a role you should play in a relationship, and she's going to say you're a misogynist. And I had a question. What's wrong with being a misogynist? Let's suppose I am. I mean, I've been accused of it. Let's suppose I'm a misogynist. What's wrong with that? Is there a crime? Is there a law that says you cannot be a misogynist? And if I am a misogynist, am I hurting anyone? Like I have a right to think and feel the way I choose. So if I'm a misogynist, why is that a problem for anyone? If a woman doesn't like misogynists, then don't talk to me. If I'm a sexist, well, damn right, I'm a sexist, because if I take women out and pay for dinner, if I hold doors open, if I carry something heavy, it's because I see the woman as being less than capable to do these things, so I do it. That's what sexism is. It's about seeing the about men seeing women as the weaker sex. So, I will make sure if there's a dog, I'm going to make sure the dog doesn't attack her, right? So I'm going to do all those things to make sure she's safe. So that makes me a sexist. I mean, that's how I deal with that stuff. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you in the house. So those are my thoughts on that. PJ, you put something interesting on the table. People seek after what they want. I know men seek after sex if they want it. Women, on the other hand, wait for what they are seeking, relationship, after you come to them. That bugs you. So that's actually a really, really good point, PJ. I'm glad you brought it up. What's going on, Chris? Good to see you in the house. Oh, so let me. I'm just going to. I'll drop a link. You guys want to come up? So what I'm talking about tonight is what's on your mind. So what's on your mind? But I want to play. I want to show a link. So here's what I think. Men have played that game, PJ, of I'll chase me, the cat and mouse game, chase me, and a woman, I want to feel good. I'm just going to wait. That's what we've told women. But that's an outright lie, because, I've given this scenario. If you take 50 men and 50 women, you put them in a room, call it a networking event, call it whatever the hell you want. Those men and women are going to mingle. And if whoever's, you'll see guys pursuing women. Now, let them interact for an hour. After an hour, I get three guys, three men who are well known and wealthy, an athlete, an entertainer, and a businessman. And I bring those three men in. What are you going to see? You're going to see those 50 women start to gravitate to those three men and become shameless about pursuing those men. They will put their card in that man's pocket. They will make themselves available. So this whole thing, this whole notion of women saying, "Oh, men are the hunter, and that's your job to chase me." Chasing a woman is really about making her feel good. And I already said at the beginning of the show, no one can make you feel anything. No one. Uh, Women have been taught that that's what a man's job is, and that's part of his responsibility, to make you feel good. Except when I bring those three wealthy, well-known men in, athlete, entertainer, and businessman, women will pursue those men shamelessly. So what that tells me is that women naturally understand how to pursue a man, how to go after a man, and that woman will understand that she has to not just pursue him and put sex as a carrot. She knows that sex is going to be on the table. In fact, that woman will use sex as one way to get that man's interest. So the notion of women playing this game of "you need to chase me," and then we have things like "me too." So he said hi, he touched my arm, he tried to talk to me. This is what that's going to create for women. This is a video called "Dating for the Future." Oh, good, you got me, PJ. Great. So yeah, I just think it's a crock, and men can actually put an end to this. And this is one way, uh, and men are doing it. Men are walking away, right? So that's leaving women out there on their own, and you can play that chase me, catch me, catch me. You'll play it by yourself. But listen to someone said this is what dating will look like in 10 years. And this was just made last month.
It's Friday night, and the only one that I'm in bed with has a tail. I literally have no reason to be crying right now, but like, the boy messaged me saying he started talking to another girl, and he was like, basically said like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, I just want to let you know. And I'm like, I kind of already knew, but like, it still fucking hurts. But he told me he didn't want a relationship, so like, why the fuck am I upset about it? But I think the thing that I'm upset about is like, boys never pick me. I'm
She's crying because boys never pick me. This is the insane part, uh, that a lot of women face. They don't want to go to the mirror. They just keep saying boys don't pick me, and they don't ask what's really going on.
never the one that they want to have a relationship with. Because literally, I always talk to boys, and then they get in a relationship like not that long after. Like, you want a relationship, you just don't want it with me, and that hurts.
It's Saturday night. I'm home. My house is clean. It smells good. I smell good. I made dinner. I'm here chilling. I got the music on. Where is my man at?
Like this woman's asking, "Where's my man?" It's I don't know her personally, but they're going to be women asking that question, and they will all have forgotten that they said, "I don't need a man. I have my own money, my own place. I can cook and clean for myself. I'm not doing that." What did they say? "I'm not your slave. I'm not your maid. I'm not doing those things for you." So a lot of men are saying, "Okay, I got it. You don't need me. You don't want to be a slave. You don't have to. Be this be this woman."
I don't know who needs to hear this, but do not, I repeat, do not download any dating apps.
We're all the same.
You're
You're thinking it's fall, and how cute would it be to be doing fall things with some guy? Well, guess what? That guy on Tinder is not going to text you and say, "Let's go pumpkin picking." Doesn't that sound cute? He will, however, text you after the bar at 3 a.m. and say, "Are you up? Can I come over? What are you doing?"
So I do not understand men.
I
I don't.
Talked
Talked for 2 whole weeks
to
to go on a date tonight, ghosted. And here I am on a Sunday night about to give a relationship advice when I'm single. But I will say, ghosting, there's no reason for it. Like, from a woman's standpoint, just come out and say it.
I want to know, if I showed up to our date wearing this, what would you do? What would you do?
I am so fucking sick of trying to date in this generation. Let me tell you about the lovely time I've had this last week with Tinder and a Tinder boy. So, about a week ago, right, matched with this really cute guy on Tinder. I messaged him, I was like, "You seem really cool." He was like, "Only one way to find out, hang out with me." I was like, "All right." He was like, "What's your snap?" Gave him my snap. We talked for the full week. He was really sweet. He asked me to go to like a park to walk around and talk and like get to know each other better. That was gonna be our first date for last night. Um, Everything was going great. Like we confirmed the date the night before, and then day of, he left me undelivered all day, and then canceled at the time of, with no apology or really explanation other than he said, "I fucked up. My family has plans." And I've been undelivered since, and that was 6 p.m. last night. So I'm gonna move into the woods. I'm gonna move into the woods, and I'm gonna live in a hut, and I'm gonna grow berries, and I'm gonna have a tiny little chicken, and I'm not gonna have to talk to anyone ever again.
Women do not want to be alone, ultimately. it's much easier for men to be on their own and focus on what they want to accomplish, even if it means working, whether you're working for someone else or have your business and putting in those hours. Women don't want to be working all day long. A lot of them are going to become lesbians.
She just asked me if one of my good friends got married, and I said, no, he's engaged. And what did you say?
I said, well, then there's still hope. Because I love him, and I think he'd be wonderful for you. And you know what I'm talking about there.
I'm sick and tired of getting myself cute, doing my makeup, get told we're gonna meet, told we're gonna go on a date, and then it never happening. I haven't gotten past the texting phase. I have 27 guys that have matched with me that I've never met in person. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Am I not cute enough? I update pictures weekly.
Does she really want the answer to her question?
So that I'm not catfishing anybody. I'm 32. I'm in the Air Force. I own my own house. I have my life together. It's not good enough. Am I not cute enough? Please, TikTok, tell me, am I cute enough? Is it in my head? Am I really not pretty?
So that's dating of the future. What's going on, Myth Twist from across the pond? Really appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Guys, I dropped my my Cash App and my PayPal in the link. Would always appreciate the support. Love your support. You're always coming through, Myth Twist. And if you guys haven't smashed that like button, don't forget, smash it now. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, this is a great time to do that. Subscribe, hit the bell, and that way you'll receive notifications from me. And share this. We're just having a conversation. This is Friday night, YouTube and chill. We're kind of sitting back, talking, shooting the breeze. We're guys having a conversation, and I'm just asking, what's on your mind? I told you about some of the things that were on my mind, some of the interactions I've had on Facebook. PJ put up a really good one, and it led right into that video. And that video was all about what dating will look like for women in 10 years. So yes, I saw that women are looking for a lot more women asking questions. Why aren't men pursuing us? It's already starting to happen. So a lot of women are disappointed and like asking, what's wrong with me? And no one wants me. What's wrong with men? And blah, blah, blah. It's almost like you thought all the bad kids would never have consequences. So shocking, right? Shocking. What's going on, Chris? Good to see you in the house, man.
What's going on, Ted? This is absolutely hilarious. I wish that they could like bottle women's tears, because they would make like the perfect marinade for like steak and chicken. There's an uptick of women on TikTok and YouTube crying about how they can't get dates, they can't get relationships. But what do you see when they get a chance? You see them rejecting 80 to 90% of the men that try to talk to them, because they all want to fight for the same 10% of men. So all the other men that they've been rejecting said, you know what, screw it. Since I don't have a chance, I might as well just focus on me. And then when they do, and the off chance that they do decide to give him some attention, he's like, nah, fuck it. I don't want you anymore. I'm cool. I got this going on in my life. I got that going on in my life. You're no longer a priority.
Yep. Not jumping through hoops, not even one.
Exactly. The dumbest thing women could have done was make men realize their value. See, back in the day, men, I don't think they truly understood their value. So they would put the woman on a pedestal. They would start wars. They do all this shit for women. Now, women, the whole feminist movement has made men see their value and see that it's worth more than women. So now, they're serious when they ask women, what do you bring to the table? Nothing. Okay, well, you ain't coming to this table.
And let me tell you, the craziest thing is women are claiming they're saying it's unfair that men are not inviting them to the table for business. It's like, well, men built the table. And I think the most fundamental thing women don't understand is they are unwilling to take risks. So men risk their capital. And a lot of men lost a lot and sometimes everything. I mean, just think about it, man. A little more than 100 years ago, there were in the United States only, there were more than 100 automobile manufacturers. We don't really realize that. It was sort of like the dot-com bubble, right? You had all these dot-com bubbles, it burst, and then the
Right.
dust settled, and you have a few that are left. Well, that's what happened with automobile industries. That means men put their money on the line, investors, guys who worked, and and most of them failed. Women don't want that. They claim they want equality. If they did, that's exactly what they would be doing. They would be saying, we don't want a seat at your table. We're going to go over here and build our own table. And since we believe we can do better than you, we're going to make our own cars. We're going to make a car manufacturer. We're going to manufacture shoes and clothes and air conditioners and furniture. They would do all of that stuff. Instead, they beg men for jobs. And so I was in that app Clubhouse a couple of days ago, and I asked you, I laid it out like this, a little more detailed, and I asked the women in the room, if you feel oppressed and you're begging men for jobs and you believe you should be at the table, why aren't women just creating their own companies? And the women, and what was shocking to me is a woman responded and she completely changed the subject. And I said to the guys, why are you letting her change the subject? And they said, "Oh no, we're going to get back to it," and they didn't. So there's where there's a big problem. Women claim that communication is important. When you put an important topic on the table, actually will change the subject and never address it at all. And a lot of guys have found that acceptable. There are more guys now starting to think, well, I'm just not going to deal with you at all. With that behavior still needs to be checked, and men are not doing that. So I mean, ultimately, if men are smart, they'll stop hiring them and tell them to create their own car companies, or whatever company they want. Your own television stations, create your own stock market, do what you want. Move to an island. Men really need to embrace that kind of mindset, and women will learn a very, very valuable lesson in a short time period. Just stop giving them jobs.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But how many men are willing to suffer the consequences?
There are what consequences?
They're-
You're breaking up, Chris. I can't understand anything.
Look at the bullshit we have now with all these.
Hey, you're breaking up. You're breaking up a lot, Chris. Hey, Chris, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. Chris, check your connection. You're breaking up badly. Hey guys, am I coming through clear? Is Chris breaking up for you all? Yeah, you're breaking. I can't understand one single word. Still zero, Chris. Cannot understand you. At all.
They don't. They just in charge, but they don't know. They don't want the.
Chris, you're gonna have to bet it's your connection. Yep. So, what else we have here? Yeah, a view. That's a good question. Does a woman make herself valuable or better, or even accessible? Right. So, I've seen these posts on Facebook where the women say, "I don't understand why do so many men date me for 2 weeks and then they have sex with me and disappear." And the quick and dirty answer is, it took him 2 weeks to find out you had nothing valuable to offer, not even good sex. So he was gone. Like, they keep saying, why are men doing this? Well, why are you not offering value? And even when you do take some women out, they still end up not really making themselves accessible. They're still playing this game. Um, I saw this post. I assume it's supposed to be a joke. I think so. Damn, I don't remember. I think it's more of a funny post. The fact that it was said. I think this is hilarious. Hey, go ahead. Let's see if you
Yeah,
come through, Chris.
yeah, I'm back. I think I was having issues with my Wi-Fi. I guess it's not reaching out here in my garage like it should. But yeah, they don't want any they want all the power and no accountability. You can't have it both ways. You just can't.
Yep, and that's the thing that I think men have caught on to. That
Yeah, the problem we're facing now is since for the last 40 years, pretty much, children are being raised by single mothers.
Yep.
That means these boys are being raised by single mothers. So they're more apt to bend the knee to them. That's why you were on that clubhouse and they let that woman take over the conversations. I've been in conversations like that where there's a bunch of guys and one woman comes in, she derails the conversation and they just sit there and let her do it. And then when I try to change the subject, we try to tell them, hey, look, don't let her take over this. Put your foot down, be a
Exactly.
man. They get pissed off at me,
Yeah,
but it's
they get.
because they
Yep.
look at their mother in her, and that's the problem. Women knew what they were doing when they raised all these children alone. They knew that they were creating future generations of children that would bend to their will.
Well, I would say, Chris, even being raised in a two-family household, a lot of women have set their sons up to get exploited by men,
Yes, yes, they have.
single mother or not. So having a father kind of helps negate, her setting him up. But I think Reggie said something like the reason why your mother won't tell you everything is because she may end up telling on herself if she really lays it down. And I thought about that because my mother made it very clear that I should never let a woman trap me. And she said a lot of women get pregnant to trap you, and
Hmm.
and I thought about that. And it was like, oh man, maybe that's how she got my father. I was like, so, because she actually made a big deal out of that when I was a teenager, and my mother had a friend, uh, I guess they went to high school together, and that friend had two daughters, and her daughters were the same age as me, and the other daughter was younger, the same age as my younger brother. And my mother told me, don't you let, she said, my mother told me that she said, look, here's what I think is happening. My friend is going to teach her daughter how to hook you and then to trap you, and she'll get pregnant and trap you. And my mother said, don't you let her do that. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm now, I'm looking with both eyes. Your mother said, don't let a woman trap you. Uh, but when I listened to that in the context of Reggie saying it, it was like, oh man, my mother may have trapped my father. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah,
And she couldn't
yeah.
tell me that. She couldn't say, look, I know, son, because that's what I did to your father.
That's what a lot of them do now. To this day, they get the Pookie. They want the Pookie or the Ray Ray in the neighborhood that all the other women want, and it's just to make all the other women jealous. He has no redeeming qualities about himself, um, and he can't give them any guidance. As a matter of fact, every time you see him, he's on the passenger side of their car, at the drive-through where they're paying, or she's getting out and pumping the gas. So but they only want him, because all the other girls in the neighborhood want him. And what do? They think that they can keep him, and they think that they'll be the one to snag him to keep him, and make all the girls jealous forever by getting pregnant by him and being his fourth baby mama. And it doesn't work. I have a cousin right now, and we kind of look alike. This motherfucker has 8 kids.
Wow.
8 kids. And I'm like, every time, I go home and visit family, and they're like, hey, I'm like, nope, I'm not him. I am not that motherfucker. I'm not him.
Wow.
But and it's not. You would think that okay, the second girl, maybe she really did genuinely think she could change him, or he really liked her, or whatever, right? But once you get to the third, the fourth, and the fifth, now you just talk. This is why I don't understand why, particularly in the black community, why we're always saying, "Oh, women are so smart." No, women are fucking stupid. Women are literally the dumbest things on earth. I mean, how can you have and the proof the proof is that you'll see doctors and lawyers making the same mistakes as high school dropouts. You don't have that in men.
Well,
You don't see men that are doctors and lawyers making the same mistakes as dudes in trailer parks.
so that's the thing. See, the way a lot of women have been pushing is that I have a degree, and they say that almost like having a degree is synonymous with being intelligent, having a high intelligence, and there's no correlation. The only time you see a correlation between intelligence and college is if you major in math or physics.
Yes, and STEM with men.
No, specifically, no, math or physics,
Yeah,
specifically.
those are primarily STEM careers.
I know,
Well,
but I don't want to say STEM because it could cover some other sciences that, so I'm saying math.
yeah, it could cover medicine. You're right. It could cover medicine.
Right. It could cover biology, it could cover chemistry, it could cover a lot of things. But I'm saying
Right.
specifically it's math and physics that people normally have this proclivity for high IQ, high intelligence. And you see very, very few women that major in math and physics. Those are definitely men. Most of the men in the past would be teachers at school or university. Now, a lot of those math guys are quants. They work for hedge funds and they make a ton of money now. They write all kinds of algorithms. Um, but there are a lot of women, they major in women's studies and history, sociology, psychology, and you could get by so easy being very average or even somewhat below average. And so a lot of guys have bought into the notion that, well, she has a college degree, therefore she must be intelligent. Except when you listen to what you just said, uh, they become doctors and lawyers and still go out and get pregnant by some dude who's on a path to prison. So
Drug dealers, they'll still date drug dealers.
that's why I said a path to prison, right?
Right.
Or the grave. So that's just a perfect example of how just because she's a lawyer doesn't mean that she's intelligent. She got a law degree. I mean, listen, man, on Sunday I played this video of a woman, Russian woman, and she introduced herself. It was this women's summit, and she said, "I think it's a bad idea to hire women." She said, "I have an IT company, and I think it's terrible to push the idea that we should hire women because you're going to get a less qualified person." She said, "I went to school and there'd be 100 guys and only 8 women." And she said the women cheated. They didn't even study the stuff. They cheated. And then when they get the job, they can't code. She said women don't code as well as men. They just don't. They're not as smart as men for that. And she said, besides that, men will stay all night long to get the job done, and women make excuses for why they have to go home. So this is a woman saying it. So a lot of women just, if they're if they are in law or medicine, a lot of cheating that goes on, and we don't hear about it, and they're less competent in their jobs than men are generally. And then, as you said, They go up. You see that the natural person who they are, which is a poor decision maker, they go out and get pregnant by a guy who's going to jail next year. So, yep, makes no sense.
Yeah, they here's what to all black men listening, okay? Stop calling black women smart. And a matter of fact, stop calling women in general smart, no matter what color you are, because they're not. Let me tell you why they have all these degrees and everything. It's because from the time you start going to school, society realized how stupid women are. So they cater the educational system from kindergarten all the way up to college to the way women learn. Now, the reason why they excel better than boys are up to high school is because most boys don't hit puberty till about 13 or 14. Well, studies have shown that women are starting to hit it at 10 now. They're developing earlier.
Right.
And once you hit puberty, that's when your brain really kicks in overdrive. That's when your intelligence really starts to your IQ really skyrockets. And so since women peak before boys, since they hit their puberty before boys, their IQ peaks before boys. But here's the thing. Once boys hit 13, 14, and they hit their puberty, their IQ skyrockets past women's, and women never catch up. That's why you see in college that no matter how much they try to cater the educational system to women, the women still have to choose the lesser degrees. They have to choose the liberal arts degrees. They have to choose the nursing degrees. They have to choose some degree that's easy to get because the boys are tackling the harder degrees, the physics, the engineering degrees, the architect degrees. They're handling that with no problem because they have the intelligence for it. Women don't have the intelligence for it. So stop calling them smart because they're not. They're parrots. You repeat something, you say something to them, and they can repeat it. That's it. You have to show them how to apply it.
See that, and that there is the problem with the education system. So there's something else, Chris, and I'm not sure how it fits into what you're saying. What they have found that there are an enormous amount of 4-year-olds that would, when tested, would qualify as an intellectually talented, some even geniuses. The problem is by the time that 4-year-old gets through 12 years of formal schooling, they're no longer a genius. So our education system, as you're saying, in PG, Imperator, what's going on in Imperator, that we just teach children to memorize, and that takes no intelligence, just to parrot and regurgitate
Right.
someone else's intelligence, right? So basically, our education system dumbs people down.
It dumbs down everybody to the level of a woman, of a girl. You're absolutely right. It does.
So they've just done that. There are too many children before they start school who are intellectually very capable, but we turn them into parrots is what we do. So and as you were, boys learn how to operate in that system and eventually do well. And as PJ, you were saying that, or Imperator, men are great workers because we want to solve problems, we want to create things, we want to build things, and women don't want to do that. They just don't. They see that as not their role. So you don't. You're not. If you don't want to build and create and solve complex problems, there's no reason for you to express a high intellectual capacity. You just don't. But they're looking for entitlements and handouts, that's where the problem comes. And claiming that they are equal and smarter than. See, I think there's the problem. We've been told for so long that girls are smarter than boys. They're more mature. And I think the problem is, and I've seen it, a lot of men, they bought into that as a boy, and they believe it. So it's like, it's like you're Superman and someone tricked you into believing you're only Clark Kent and that's all you have. And that's kind of what a lot of boys have done.
Yeah, yeah, and it goes right back to them being around women so much. When the vast majority of time is spent around women, and they don't get a chance to experience any time around men. They don't get to see and contrast the differences in the two between and the intelligence between the two. They don't get to see that. I'm being lied to. And it's and women want that. That's why women fight so hard to keep children. Because if you can keep the children, then you have the power to mold the future. And that's what they want. They want to force children to be a bunch of grown up dumb clones, like a bunch of honeybees. They're just
Society will crumble under that
dumb
paradigm,
things for
or society will either crumble or you'll be taken over by a much stronger society. Imperator, what country are you in? I'm just curious. And he's a teacher. Imperator said exactly that. I'm a teacher, and I can tell you that that school in my country is about following and being creators and innovators. What country are you in? Someone said something. Barbados.
Barbados.
Interesting. Well, the Caribbean.
Women are and Imperator. Women are stupid. I'm sorry, they are stupid. Dogs are smarter than fucking women.
It's the Caribbean for a very long time, and I don't think most people knew this. The Caribbean had acquired the reputation of having the number one education system in the world before college. And this I think started back in the 80s, and they held that title. China may have taken them over, but for a long time, the Caribbean were putting out the smartest people. It wasn't the U.S. And each country in the Caribbean will claim, Barbados will say, I think Imperator, the Barbados will say that they are the number one in the Caribbean because you're at closest to the British system. The Jamaicans will say they're number one, so will the Trinidad. It's kind of funny. But if you really sit down and listen to people born in the Caribbean, I'd say 30 years or more ago, you do hear very different conversations than you hear in the U.S. And that's both men and women. PJ, interact. Fundamental reason why one would be single is if one isn't seeking after a mate, and men understood that. Women are still battling with the reasons why they are still single. Yeah, they
Ted,
don't want to look in the mirror at all.
how do you distinguish someone who's willfully ignorant and someone stupid? Just at face value, Ted.
I don't know, man.
Exactly, you can't. So it's easy to just say they're fucking stupid because
Who was,
at the surface level they appear to be the same thing.
let me see. Who was it? Einstein said something like, "Stupid people and have something in common with dead people. Um, Neither realizes the pain they cause other people."
It's absolutely right. But yeah, these I relationships are pretty much over. I don't think um I think it's going to take a while. I'm going to say probably at least 2 or 3 generations before men want to come back to the table and want to be the husbands of old, you know because of all this thought culture. That being said, uh I think women should be extremely fearful of what's going to happen in society, in the meantime, because as you look, now we're starting to have food shortages. Um, they're on, and here's one thing that women haven't figured out or seen, don't realize it's coming because of the pandemic. And them sending women home. Well, when they refused to go back to work, you know what they started doing? They started automating a lot of their jobs.
Of course.
And what they don't realize is women are the easiest ones to automate it out of the workforce. You could automate just about all their jobs. And once you don't have the ability to earn a living and you can't secure a husband, what do you do? I'll tell you what you do. You stand under the overpass next to that Vietnam vet that talks to himself every 5 minutes, and you hold out your cup and you hope people feel more sorry for you than they do him and give you the change he was supposed to get.
So let me tell you one of the other conversations that happened in Clubhouse and why I pushed it to if women don't like it, you should create your female only, Fortune 500. A woman was saying that it's unfair. Like she said, everyone's valuable, and that it's unfair. Why should you pay a man who works on an oil rig more than you pay a nurse? I said because men on oil rigs die. They die every year. There's some guy who dies. The life, the job is dangerous. I said, working in the emergency room, you don't die. And she was like, well, people die in the emergency room. I said, yeah, but it's not the nurse, the guy who works. And so she's like, well, the janitor is valuable. He should get paid more. I'm like, no, the market demands. It was amazing how she was trying to make everyone as equal, and we should all get paid the same. And it's like, no, men are putting their lives on the line, and a nurse is not. That you hear some of these stories. This guy told me about a guy working on an oil
Yeah.
rig. They told you when the cable snaps, just run from the drill. And everyone ran, and one guy didn't get away fast enough. You guys have maybe heard me say this. And the cable pinned him up against the drill and just sliced his body in half in an instant, like instantly.
I told you I used to work in the oil field.
Yeah.
I used to work in the oil field. I know of those horror stories, and let me tell you, there's some worse than that. It's no joke. What those roughnecks do,
Exactly.
and not only is it a dangerous job, but their nurses get to go home to their family every night. Those guys might go out to those oil rigs for 2 months and not see their family at all. So yeah, they should be compensated for that.
Yep. And she was having a difficult time, and then she started talking about the janitors, and it was like, oh my God, So, some women are struggling with, and that's why the real solution is then just create a female-only oil company and go drill for oil, and then come back and talk to us. What's going on, the Scout? Good to see you in the house. Thank you.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. They've been allowed to operate from a point of privilege for so long, for so many decades, that they honestly think they earned it and they deserve it. So when you talk about a man who actually deserves his pay and it happens to be higher than theirs or equal to theirs, it lights a fire in them that just, it's like waving a red flag in front of a bull, even though they have no basis for this anger or this animosity, because the guy's legitimately doing, you know, what it takes to earn his salary. Meanwhile, they're not. You take some nurse who walks in a room, once an hour, picks up a chart, goes through a checklist, and then brings a fucking Jello back, or gives them a little cup of orange juice. She thinks that she deserves more than these guys out here doing these dangerous jobs. These guys on power lines and these oil rigs and stuff like that.
Well, here's an interesting fact. When the United States was created back in the 1700s, 1776, the only people that voted were wealthy families, large landowners, and the merchants. And after that Revolutionary War in 1865, they said, well, these men have sacrificed their lives in a battle, and some of them didn't come home. So maybe we owe them the right to vote. So it wasn't just wealthy families, large landowners and merchants. They said men can vote. And the reason they said men can vote is because they went to war. They fought for a cause and they gave them the right to vote. So when you think about it that way, you see that women actually never earned the right to vote. They haven't. Men have had to earn everything that they have.
Yes, yes, we have, and that's why the feminist movement was started. The feminist movement was started because white women knew that black men had fought in every war, you know, uh, for the country, and even North versus South, you know, so they had earned their right to vote, and they were scared that because they had fought in all these wars, they would start to accumulate more power and more privileges than they had when they haven't had done anything. So that's why the feminist movement started. That's why the whole suffrage movement started and all that. But I just want to say, I want to show you something, Ted. Now we've been talking, and we can physically point out the statistics on how men are smarter than women, right? Why do we still have dudes even in your comments saying women are smarter? Because they feel. They'll ignore the facts just to say they feel. Tell me that isn't something that was taught to them by women. Women are the only ones who say, I feel, I feel, I feel. Men, we deal with facts. And if it's a fact that a man is smarter than a woman, it's a fact. Accept it.
Well, but I think a lot of people have a difficult time. I said this, I think, the last time you were here. When you look at IQs, women cluster that most women are average or above average. And most of the population is average and above average. But when it comes to high IQs, exceptionally high IQs, that's where women thin out significantly. And you'll find significantly more men with high IQs than you find women. Even though there's slightly more women, you find a significantly more men in high IQs. The flip side of that, you also find significantly more men with very low IQs also. So men cover both ends of the spectrum, uh, and women sit in the middle. That's where they cluster. Very few women have a high IQ. That's empirical. That's not my opinion.
Right. They don't have high IQs. They're not smart. What it is they have tits and ass, and they know we like tits and ass. So they use those tits and ass to manipulate us. You don't have to be smart to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you keep telling men they only think with their little head, I mean, that's men need to kill that conversation. No one thinks with their dick. It was, what do you call hyperbole? It's just a joke, right?
Right.
It was
It's
never
a joke
meant.
started by comedians.
Right. It was never meant to be taken seriously. That's not how you think. You have a brain, right? So they need to kill that. And the other idea that men only want one thing, well, that's just a lie. Someone, I forget, maybe it was you, PJ, made a comment about how men pursue sex. Well, this is, people have a difficult time. Women want sex much more than a lot of men realize. Uh, just the way they go about pursuing it is very different. Until they're really desperate, then they come out. But the thing is, hey Chris, you've got your microphone must be scraping against your clothing or something. It's very loud. Um, as long as men think that they are using women for sex, women can reel a guy in like on a fishing rod, and a man will really think he's pursuing her when it's really sex that she needs. Well, the man the whole time will think he's using her when women really, so many women are using men for sex, but it's hard to see that because that's not the way it's marketed. Like propaganda is vicious. Men think with their small heads. Women are smarter than men. Girls are smarter than boys. All of this stuff. Um, It's just propaganda. If people could just see it for that and just leave it there, leave the propaganda on the side. But the problem is people buy into it. So there are lots of things that people buy into, lots of stereotypes. Um, a myth twist. I saw your comment about women bottle their bath water and dudes buy it. Unfortunately,
What are
even
are you serious?
water, even dirty bath water. He's saying it's a joke. I mean, he said that when you were talking about if we could bottle women's tears,
Yeah, yeah.
but he was saying, well, women actually bottle their bath water and then dudes buy it. I wouldn't be surprised if there are guys that would buy a woman's bath water as this would be the closest, the only way they're going to get close to her.
I know that there are guys out there that are buying like women's underwear and shit like that, but I mean, Jesus, it's just it's ridiculous.
He
I,
also
I
he also said, I think it's more opposite. Most guys worship women today more than before. So when you say men worshipped women before, he's saying he thinks it's the opposite, that younger guys are worshiping women more than they did in the past.
you see, I don't know. I would tend to agree with him and say that because I see this generation of young dudes and they all look like they're simps. They're just they don't have any of the the ruggedness or any of the machismo that my generation or even your generation had. They don't look like the types to go out and play football in the street and fall down on the concrete and get up. Yeah, you got your knees bleeding and you got gravel stuck in your skin, but you brush it off and you get ready for the next play. They don't look like those kind of boys.
Right. Or
They're painting their fingernails and getting these girlish haircuts and dyeing their hair like women. It's just it's gay, man. But according to some of these guys, and in school, they're completely ignoring the girls and they're forming these little MGTOW groups and they're ignoring women. But I just don't see it. I see the exact opposite.
um, PJ, women bring a lot to the table. PhD, that's 3 years of study. Yes. Yes, some of them do bring PhDs. Yeah, and this is a good one. Women confuse sexual market value with relationship market value. And I don't know if I actually explicitly stated it a little while ago, that's one of the major downsides that women seem to be oblivious to. So if a woman sleeps with a lot of different guys, she actually never, especially in her 20s, she never gets to develop the relationship skills. So she actually is incompetent when it comes to relationships. And I think I said earlier how we've done a role reversal between a lot of men and women. Like even you talking about men painting their nails and wearing dresses, like we've done a lot to kind of change the roles between men and women. And aside from women resenting men for that, women biologically, they have uh, this biochemistry that allows them to be very good at creating bonds. So that's really a big part of their responsibility, but they don't want to do that anymore. So they're demanding that men, you should be texting me and calling me, and that's your like for a woman bonding. That's really a big part of her role, and that's part of her relationship market value. It's part of her relationship skills, and we're doing a role reversal, and that's honestly, it's creating a lot of resentment in women because they do want that rugged man that you were talking about, Chris. They do want that, especially in the bedroom, and they're not getting. So it's confusing because there's this paradox. They want to do a role reversal, yet they want the rugged masculinity from a man, and he's supposed to only do that in the bedroom, but they don't understand that's part of your being, like who you are full time or who you're not. If you're not that, you're not it. And women are It's like he's saying they think having sexual market value is the same as having relationship value, and it's just not. And doing the role reversal is killing their relationship value because they don't understand how to be in a relationship.
It's because you can't. Well, nobody's been honest with them. They keep saying that they want equality, but they reject the idea of equality because part of equality, the equality is honesty. People are going to be honest with you, just like men. Nobody lies to men. You see a fat dude, you don't call him you don't tell nobody not to body shame him or say something stupid like that. No, you call him a fat dude. You don't call him sick or big boned or no shit like that. You say he's a fat dude. He accepts it because he knows you're not lying. But women don't want that honesty. They don't want equality, and so they've been lied to. So when they're being lied to, you can't fully be honest with them about biology, about what sexual market is, because if you talk to them, and the vast majority of them think sexual market value is the same as sexual peak, and they'll say that they don't peak to four
You're breaking up.
sexual.
You're breaking up again, Chris. Yeah, you're breaking up. Hey, the scout, thank you, man. Good to see you in the house. Young men need to be taught from day one what it is to be a man for men. And they need to be
Yeah,
taught
but
by men, not by women. And
yeah,
that's
but those men are, think about it. If those men are being raised by single mothers, whatever he learns, it's going to quickly be erased the minute he walks home. Because when he goes home to that toxic ass single mother, it's going to be possibly beaten out of him.
yeah, yep.
And if not beat out of him, she may kill him. She may kill him if he starts to express too much of it, or if he shows that hey, the thing you're trying to tell me is wrong.
Yeah, well, there was a video on YouTube. They took it down quick. Some guy was probably early 20s, and his mother was. He told his mother, "What did I tell you about wearing those colors?" And she went off. She started going off. Boy, ba ba ba. They were in a kitchen. Someone was sitting at the table, looked like they were eating cereal, and someone was behind all that videotaping. And when he said, "I told you about wearing colors," and the mother started yelling, she took this woman who was fat, like she was a big woman. He picked her up and body slammed her on the floor so hard that when she tried to get up, she was too hurt. She couldn't. You could hear she was in pain. What I assumed from that is that that man had pent up years of pent up anger, and he took it out on her. And that's what will also happen to a lot of these women who try to beat the manhood out of them. When he said what I told you about wearing those colors, I assume he was in a gang and he told his mother not to wear those colors. And
Yeah, yeah, more likely that's probably what it was.
he went.
Um, yeah, yeah. A lot of these women don't understand the way they raise their boys is through fear. You know, so they hit them, hit them, and they use fear as a parent. Fear is the ultimate parenting tool. But once that boy gets, once he reaches, once he becomes a teenager, he's about their size, possibly bigger, and he's way stronger. So he has no reason to fear them anymore. So now all those years of fear that they've instilled in them, it's gonna come back to bite them in the ass.
Very dangerous way to raise a
Yeah,
boy. Very,
women don't understand that we are the most dangerous predator on the planet. If you wouldn't wave a bloody stake in front of a lion, why would you fuck with a boy who's eventually going to become a man and bigger and stronger than you? Why would you risk torturing him or pissing him off for years and thinking it's not going to bite you in the ass?
Yep. Poor decision making, right? So when we were talking about that, someone wrote, "Poor decision making is close to poor IQ."
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, they're dumb. I just think it's absolutely hilarious now that all the decisions they've been making for the last 50 years is biting them in the ass, and we have the technology to see it. You know, before, see, all they had to do was sit at home, suck dick, and make a sandwich every once in a while. Now they got to go to work 40 hours a week, sometimes possibly overtime, sometimes possibly two jobs, then come home and make a sandwich, and hope some man values them enough to let him suck his dick.
Someone responded to you, Chris. He said, women are willfully ignorant, which fools you into thinking they're stupid." He said they're
They
not
are
stupid.
stupid.
He said they're not stupid.
Yeah,
They are
I
willfully
said that earlier before. You put someone who's willfully ignorant next to someone who's stupid, and how do you tell the difference? You can't. So it's just easier to call them stupid. If you're going to be willfully ignorant about something, that means that means you're stupid.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's funny. They fought for the right to work. Now they don't want to work anymore. Now they want to be stay-at-home wives. Again, because working is hard. You know, they don't realize that. Hey, we were trying to protect you from this. We don't want to do this shit every day, but we have to. We understand we have to.
Well, men
We
find
try to protect you
fulfillment.
from it.
They
They
find
thought that
fulfillment. Men are fulfilled by that also.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It gives us a sense of purpose. But they don't have that. Our bodies are built for it. We're designed for everything that we do, and they want to be like us, but they don't understand because they've been lied to that their bodies aren't biologically built to do the same things we do.
Well, there was an interesting conversation going on in the chat. Myth Twist said, "Funny because Caribbean descendants here in the UK don't." He said, "Don't tend to be as strong in education." They said it's easy to distinguish. Interesting. But in Imperatory responded, said, "Our weak kids go to the U.S. and excel in high school." So that's the weak. The weak ones in the Caribbean come to the U.S. and excel here. Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen it. Growing up in London, I've seen it. I've seen it. The Jamaican kids getting higher grades than even the black kids that were from here.
Right. He
And
said,
the Nigerians will come and blow everybody out the water.
yeah, yeah. And see, when they start saying IQ tests are racist, well, people come from Nigeria, China, and India and know less about U.S. culture, and they come here and knock out those IQ tests. Uh, so that's like an invalid statement.
In my hometown, and this guy he sent to China for his two nephews to come over. So they come over in the 11th grade. They spoke so little English. I don't understand how they were able to keep up in class. But these motherfuckers got nothing less than an A. They're now doctors and they're now both doctors.
Interesting.
And I never even knew their real, like nobody could even pronounce their real Chinese names. So we just called them Jim and Charles. That's what they went by. But they're now doctors. So yeah, no, there's nothing's U.S. It's just that because most young kids are raised by single mothers, particularly urban, in the urban environment, in the black community, they're raised by single mothers. They're expected to be given everything.
Yep, yep. Give me a curve. So he said a willfully ignorant person clearly knows better because they demonstrated at other times. A truly stupid person can't do that. So that's an interesting statement. So, and you will see. So take your. You don't wave a steak in front of a lion, right? And if the dog is barking at you and you don't like it, you don't climb over the fence and say, I'm going to keep it real and show that dog a piece of my mind. Yet, if a man is warning you to back off of me, get out my face, the woman stays there. So a stupid person wouldn't know the difference. They would go over the fence with the dog and try to shut them up and get their asses killed or severely beaten by the dog. That's I think Miss Twist. I think that's what you're getting at, correct? You follow him, Chris?
I'm following. I still think that's a stupid person. I still think it's stupid to to go over and argue with the dog when you know the dog can bite your face off. I've seen women argue with guys with guns out. I ain't scared of that gun. I ain't scared of bitch. You should be. Those things are meant to kill people.
Well, yet she won't go over the fence with the dog, though.
Right.
So that's what he's saying is being willfully ignorant. It's almost like that entitlement thing. I'm a woman. You'll never do that to me. Like they're banking on being a woman and you'll never do it.
No, what she's banking on is another man stepping in to stop you from doing it. She's still stupid.
That's the second part, right? So, but even if it happens when they're at home, so there's no other man to stop it.
Well, then she's banking on you being scared of what'll happen to you, in jail or if the police come or whatever. It's still predicated on what another man will do to you.
Yeah. That's why women have no power because they depend on some other man to intervene.
No, and I'm sorry, they're stupid. I mean, I wish more men would just understand that they're stupid.
He said women aren't dumb because they know how to make smart choices when the pressure is on them.
What? Yeah. No, I'm sorry. No, it's been. He obviously has never been in the military. He's never been in the military. Because let me tell you, I've seen women under pressure and they fold. They fold like cheap suits.
He said they're choosing to make life harder for themselves because they know life is mostly on easy mode for them. Someone else's facts. They know the right choice, but they choose the bad because it's easy or fun. So the one thing that here's the one thing is, hey Chris, you got a lot going on back there.
Okay. All
right. So here's the one thing women have done, and they talk about using propaganda. They convince men of many things. They convince men that you think with a small head. They convince men that you only want sex. They convince men that they are equal and they can do anything that a man can do. And they convinced men to let them into spaces where women actually don't add value, except they kept saying, we're better than you, we're better than you. And they convinced so many men to actually believe that there are men out there who actually are fighting and standing for men. And many of those men are fathers who continue to perpetuate the very thing that's not true. So they convinced men of a lie and got them to take action on a lie that's in a woman's favor. And they know, even to today, they know as you give them proof, for example, you say, well, if women can do anything and anything means anything, why aren't women competing in the Olympics? Like they're just not. Then they go, well, that's physical. We know we're not. When it's like, then stop saying you can do anything a man can do. But then you start looking at math and science, and you start looking at, well, how come there aren't any women Fortune 500s? And they say, well, women didn't have money. It's like, well, that's a lie, because you have women that were millionaires in the late 1800s, and you brag about this Madam C.J. Walker, who's a millionaire, and nothing. What came out of that aside from a hair care company? There have been lots of women that inherited hundreds of millions and billions, and even still today. Look at Jeff Bezos' wife. What did she get? How many billions of dollars did she get? And what has she done with it? Philanthropy. She hasn't built a single company. She has enough money to compete with Google, with Amazon, or any other company that she wants. Look at the Vanderbilt. We have all these Rockefellers, Astors, Carnegies, Vanderbilts, Morgans, Gloria Vanderbilt. In the age of the new age of personal computers being built, instead of her creating a computer company with all the money that she had, she created jeans, Gloria Vanderbilt jeans. So she didn't compete with men. She did something that she only focused on women, and it was an easier target. So men have been, what I'm getting at is, men have been convinced of a lie, which technically could make it seem like men are dumber than women, because women have said they can do anything better, and men haven't stepped back and said, well, do it, or here's your own island, go do it. Men continue to make women the protected gender, and not demand that they do all the things they could do. And so men continue to do the deadly jobs, and men don't demand that they do. So in some ways, women have to be laughing at men and saying they fell for a bamboozle, and they know, it's pretty obvious we can't do everything they do, yet they are convinced that we can. And they continue to do everything for us. Like that's kind of dumb on the part of men, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, we all heard the old saying, never argue with an idiot, because they'll just bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. Well, that's what women have done to men. They brought these men down to the level of a female, and they're beating them at being a female. That's all it is. But once you take a hold of once you harness your masculinity, and you realize the game that are being played against you and on you, it doesn't affect you, and you can see through the bullshit. But until that happens, no, you're gonna be dumbed down to the level of a woman, and you're not gonna be a woman at being a woman. Society's not gonna treat you the same way they treat that woman, so you will lose. But once you realize your masculinity and you take a hold of it, and you start to move accordingly, yeah, you'll excel past women, and to the point where you'll laugh at them.
Men are afraid to do that. They call me a misogynist. I don't know if you heard me in the beginning. My question was, okay, I'm a misogynist. Now what? Like, did I break a law? Is there something wrong with being a misogynist? I mean, if I'm a misogynist, who am I hurting? And if there are women that actually despise misogynists, then those women would want to avoid me. But don't come to me and tell me I'm a misogynist. Just stay away from me. You probably don't hear misogynists going out to hurt women. They just avoid them. These names that women have used to
that is their only power.
To make
the only power they have is to call you a name.
Hold it, Chris. I'm relating this to what you said. So that's how they talk men out of their masculinity. If you act masculine, you're a misogynist. You're a sexist. And men comply with that. And there's where the whole thing crumbles and falls apart.
Yep. Instead of like you, when they call you a misogynist, embrace it. Yeah, I'm a misogynist. I'm supposed to be. I'm a man. I'm supposed to think that I'm better than a woman.
right?
Where's the harm there? Who told you that I had to think that you were better than me?
And if I pay for dinner, if I open the door, if I carry the heavy stuff, if I make sure the dog doesn't bite you, I'm a set. That's seeing you as the weaker gender, so you're protected. If men don't put you in the front line of the battlefield, you're protected.
The minute a woman asks a man to stop another man from raping her, she's already acknowledged that men are misogynists, and misogyny is okay.
Yep. Or ask you to pay for dinner. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sexist. That's straight up sexist. And women have called me sexist, and I said, yeah, and I'm proud of it. I've paid for dates, and they're like, well, no, that's not what it means. I'm like, yeah. If I have lower expectations for a woman, and women have lower expectations for themselves, you shouldn't pay for dates. You shouldn't carry the heavy stuff. Men should open doors. All these things. As a woman, you're promoting sexism. So, okay, I embrace it. What's the problem?
Exactly.
What's going
But
on? Sonny, I see it's Sonny in the house. Good to see you, man. What's up? Go ahead, Chris.
but like you said, too many men fall into the trap where they just don't want to hurt their feelings. Fuck their feelings. All they're gonna do is call you a name. That's all they have. Accept it, embrace it, and move on.
Someone back some time ago, you said women just have tits and ass, and he said, "Well, I do like breast and booty." So, yeah, lots of men do.
Oh, we all love it. It's funny. You know what's really funny? I saw a video the other day where a woman called out women for the body shaming. For years, women have tried to get down to the size 0 or whatever, to where they're basically these toothpicks, right? But we know they do it just so they can make other women jealous of them because they can fit into smaller clothes.
Exactly.
Right? Because as men, we love curves on a woman, right? We like tits, we like ass. There's no man out here raving about a woman who's a size 0.
No,
But a woman will see.
Chris, there's some size 0s that are hot. They have tits and ass.
Okay, well, when I say a size 0, I mean a woman who's like a size 0 with an A cup and a flat ass.
All
right?
I got you.
But women will see them, and these lesbians, they'll like them. Other women will like them, but for the most part, men don't. Men don't like that. You have a couple of men who do, but the vast majority of men like, we like 36Ds. We like a woman with some ass. One with some hips. But they do all this to shame each other, and then they blame it on us.
Well, when they do meet a woman who's a size 2 or 0 and has tits and ass, they put that woman down.
And that's what happened on the video. That's what the girl was talking about in the video. She said there was a girl who came into her comment section, and she said you're cute, but you have small tits or something like that. And she said, yeah, and it's girls like you who've been shaming me my whole life, and that's why I'm scheduled to get breast surgery.
Wow.
And have breast implants done next week.
Wow. No, I dated a woman who was a 0, and she had some D cups, a 22-inch waist, and her hips were not big, but she had a nice little cute butt, and her stomach was as flat as the floor. I haven't dated a woman with a stomach that flat. She was, her body was really hot, and women would say, "Oh, you're just so tiny. Look at you." They would be sarcastic to her.
Right. The jealousy will come out. The cattiness will come out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I laugh at the women's movement, because women, when given the opportunity, there's no unity among women. When given the opportunity, they'll cut each other's throat as fast as they can, as quick as they can. They just want to be, covert about it, while overtly praising each other.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
but for us men, you can take us at face value. Um, for the most part, if if I ain't gonna stab you in your chest, I'm not gonna stab you in the back. If I'm gonna talk shit about you to your face, I'm gonna talk shit behind your back, and
Yeah,
vice versa.
yeah.
Men, we're simple creatures. They wish they were as simple as us.
Well, listen, I think that's a woman's idea. Men are not simple creatures. Look at all the complexity we create in the world, man. We create mathematics, geometry. We create buildings that shouldn't even be standing. Um, we move houses from one place to another. We create sewer systems and roadways and communication systems and internet, computers. No, men are as complex as the things that we create, uh, and
Right.
and women need to acknowledge that. And I think there's the problem is that most of them cannot keep pace with that kind of guy. Uh, and yeah, so they will just tell you that I'm smarter than you and never produce a result. So it's like psychological warfare kind of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
Reggie was telling me about this movie. It was about Minnesota Fats, and he was like the top pool player during in his prime. And there was this young guy. This was in a movie. This young guy, and he wanted to play Minnesota Fats. He kept challenging him, and Minnesota wouldn't take him on. Well, somehow these two men ended up in a pool hall and had a private match. And at some point, Minnesota Fats realized this young guy was really good and he wasn't going to be able to beat him. So Minnesota Fats tricked the guy he played a mind game with him and he got the guy to beat himself. And so Minnesota Fats won what he technically wasn't a better pool player, but he used mind games to make he outsmarted the guy off the table. And the guy ended up beating himself, and Minnesota Fats won. And there was a guy who knew both of them, witnessed the whole thing, and he told the young guy, he said, "You beat yourself." He said, "You're your own enemy," and so I think that's an example of uh, women knowing that they can't match what men do, what they use these other mind games to undermine men and get men to doubt them. Long term, that's disastrous to society. The last thing you want to do is undermine your men and have them weak and spineless, because someone will come in and crush everyone.
Right. Yeah. They have no metric of anything that they claim to do. I saw a video the other day where they took like five regular guys and put them against five British SAS guys.
Okay.
Well, I should say three guys and two women, and they were doing hand-to-hand combat. Right. So the woman comes up and they told the SAS guys they could pick anybody they want out of the regular guys. So one of the women comes up. She points at the smallest guy over in the average guys, right? And it's this short, light-skinned black guy. He's about he's about her height, so he's about 5'6", 5'5", 5'6", and maybe about 160, 170 pounds.
Right.
And so standing next to all the other guys who were like 5'10", 5'11", 6'2",
Right.
and like closer to 200 pounds, he looks small.
Right.
He's about her size, so she figures, I'm British Special Forces. I can beat this guy in hand-to-hand combat. They gave them both boxing gloves. I've never seen a man beat a woman man in my life.
Really?
Dude, about 15 seconds in, I was dying laughing. She could not do nothing to cover herself from the onslaught of punches that she was received in the face. By about 30 seconds in, her nose was like profusely bleeding.
Wow.
And here she is, like, you can see that all the confidence that she had that she could beat him because he was a smaller man, it was erased.
Of course. Reality.
She had thoroughly accepted her role as a woman in society by then.
uh, I think I know what this the scout. If you're still in there, I want some clarity. You said the average woman estimates sexual market value at least 2 to 3 points of reality. You mean 2 to 3 points higher than reality? Men are more reality based and more and makes for bad relationship atmosphere. I 2 to 3 points off reality. Okay, I got it. I got it. So
I understand what you're saying.
if a woman is a 5 or 4, she thinks that she's a 7 because she's 2 to 3 points off. So when the guy who's a 5 or 4, and I think you were saying this, Chris, that guy who is pursuing her, who's on her level of reality, she thinks she's better than him.
Yeah.
And she goes for the guy who's the 7 and the 8, and they have sex with her, and that's it. And she does that for enough years, and she gets used up. And now the guy who is a 5 or 4 like her doesn't want her down the line. He's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, she's been ran through too much. Yeah, she
Yep.
spends all her time at the bars, getting, waiting around the last call, and she meets, a bunch of guys who are way above her, and they slum for a night because they just, they're going through some whatever, or they're saying, or they just want to, get the dick wet,
Yeah,
and
right.
so they go down and they bang her, and she thinks that that's the level of man she's entitled to, that she deserves.
Yep.
It's like, no, you're a 4. Stay in a 4's place.
Hey, what's going on, OJ? Good to see you in the house. Yes, Jeff Bezos' wife did marry a teacher, right? So she went. So that's interesting. So that's almost like the woman you were talking about who challenged the guy and they had gloves on. She got reality handed to her. I'm saying Jeff Bezos' wife she wanted this successful guy and she saw what it was like to be with someone like that, and she got reality handed to her. So now she's with a teacher. Did she marry him?
Yeah,
I think she did. She married, right? She married
yeah,
him.
she married him.
So here she is with billions of dollars to her name, and instead of going out and get another winner, another billionaire, so supposedly will be on her level, she went and got a teacher. And I'm not saying, look, I'm not saying that being a teacher is not smart, because there are some brilliant teachers out there who should be teachers because that's what the children need. Um,
No, but no, let's be real. Let's be real. If a man had did that, if a man had went, made billions, and then reached out and started dating a teacher, you know, we would call him a dumbass because we say, she's just going to divorce you and take half your shit.
Right, right. Well, she probably learned something from Bezos. See, a lot of guys, what we hear in the media, but we don't hear about, and they do a good job of protecting their assets. They have all kinds of trusts, and there's a lot of money these women don't have access to. So she may have gotten a bunch of money in stocks or stock options that were worth that much, but she may not have gotten as much cash as people think.
Right, right, right. It may not necessarily all be in cash.
Right. It would have been. He could have just easily. I'll just give you some stock options. Like it's no sweat off my back.
Right,
And the company doubled in value anyway, like within months. So it cost him nothing.
right, right. As a matter of fact, he got rid of a dead weight, if you ask me.
Right.
He wasn't fucking her.
Exactly. Right. Yes.
He's still one of the most wealthy men in the world. He can still get point at any woman and tell her, hey, lay down and open your legs, and she'll still do it.
So myth twist, right? You get where I'm coming from, right? So a lot of guys hold back. So in horse racing, when you're racing the horse, they say hold back the reins so the horse doesn't take off and too soon in the race. You hold back the reins, and then later, coming around that last turn, you let that horse loose. You let go of those reins, and the horse is going to take off. That's what a lot of men are doing. They're holding back the reins. There's so many men that have so much more to offer, except they want to hire women because we have a hiring woman program. They don't want to make women feel bad, so they don't like release the intellectual kraken, right? So you want to make women feel comfortable, and I think fathers do this too with their daughters. So we we give women a false sense of security, and that, I mean, that hurts. Imagine having a football team and half your players really are not good enough to be in the NFL, except you wanted to make them feel good, and you gave them a false sense of security. That team is going to get crushed. Crushed.
But I think most fathers have been indoctrinated into feminism themselves. They just don't want to admit it. Look at how often, so the failing formula for women for the last 50 years has been graduate high school, go to college, pursue a career, and then try to start a family and get a husband and all that, right? That's been the failing formula for all of them for the last 50 years.
Right.
But what are these fathers still pushing their daughters to do?
Yep.
When they graduate high school, go to college, pursue a career, and then get a husband and kids. Like, where have you been for the last 50 years?
Right.
Like that, yeah, it hasn't worked. It's insane to keep pushing them to do something that hasn't worked for them. But they keep doing it because they don't want to hurt their feelings. They don't want to tell them that your worth will be in you securing a husband after high school. So find that little guy, that you think's a nerd right now. That guy who, maybe he's into Pokemon or video games or Dragon Ball Z or whatever, but all he talks about is being an engineer or being an architect or whatever. Latch on to him instead of that guy, who's just talking about, basketball, but he's not that good. He's not even number one in the state.
Well, that's what I mean by fathers are holding back the reins. Like they're not releasing reality onto their daughters, so they give them a false sense of security. It's like the TV show American Idol, and those people go on there who can't sing.
Yeah, exactly. Part of it is, I think a lot of it has to do. Well, I think it's a mixture. I think part of it is them being scared of their daughters, and then I think the other part about it is they just can't accept the fact that if they don't push their daughters to focus on, to go from high school to college and a career and all this, that their daughters will just be out here getting railed left and right by guys. But it's going to happen anyway. But I think if they think if they can get her to focus on nothing but school and a career, because at this point they won't be around them. They will have complete autonomy. So they'll be off somewhere by themselves, and they know that they make shitty decisions, and they know that they'll make shitty decisions on men, and so they're hoping that if they can get her to just dedicate all her time to school and a career, that she won't be out here sucking 100 dicks, but she's gonna be doing it anyway.
Yeah, the more time you wait, and I think sometimes how people say women should wait to have sex because that's what they did in the old days. Well, those women got married at 16, so of course they could wait for sex.
Yeah. Those women got married, sometimes younger than that. My grandmother, I think she probably got married at like 13.
Yeah. So now I'm telling women. So what do you think women are going to do if you tell them to wait until 30? So between 18 and 30, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna suck 100 dicks, like you said.
Yeah.
That's going to diminish their value significantly.
Well, I don't know. It's gonna produce an awful good dick sucker.
Yeah, but that creates other problems for women.
Right. But yeah, it's they're just producing the next generation of women that are going to be even more miserable by doing this. Stop. As they say, stop the cap. Tell your daughter the truth. Your worth is going to be in you finding a husband and starting a family as soon as possible.
Well, there are some women saying that they wish they had done that. Actually,
you ever heard of a show called Sex in the City?
Yeah, it's been around. When I came back to the States, they were playing it. So yes.
Yeah, this is a show that's been on HBO for, I don't know how many seasons they've done. Countless, a whole bunch of seasons. The woman who wrote the show, this woman is probably a billionaire. She's got Jeff Bezos money. She's like in her 60s. And she herself said that if she had a chance to do it all over again, she'd go back and instead of focusing on her career and writing that show and all that, she'd get married and have kids. Because she doesn't have a chance to do it now.
Yep, over.
Yeah, 60 years old, game over.
No, for sure. Unless a guy 100 years old would want a younger woman. So
yeah, he might want her, but she still can't produce children. That puts you in the graveyard.
So someone else joined us. There's no name. If I were to take a guess, I would say you're across the pond. But what's going on? You're on mute, man. What's up? Join us in the discussion. The unnamed man or person. Wow, it could be a woman, right?
Could be a woman.
You're across the pond, right? Come off of mute and talk to us. Someone said a man shouldn't. Someone was saying that if the teacher divorces Bezos' ex-wife, he'll be set for life. He said Adele's husband did. He got set. And then there's a man shouldn't take money from his wife. That's a new law. Laughing my ass off, right? So, did you type that?
Yeah, I typed it. Yeah. That's what they said. They're saying when Adele's husband got money, women were talking so much shit and saying like, oh, how can you take money from your wife, or like men shouldn't get money in divorce? That's a new low, blah blah blah. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what a bunch of hypocrites. But then like you wouldn't sit there and cheer whenever a dude gets raped over the coals. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I'm so glad every time I hear a story like that, because it's so rare. It's like, justice. Like like it's just like, I'm so happy when I hear about a dude taking a woman to the cleaners. I'm sorry, like, I don't care. It's satisfying as hell.
Yeah, or whenever they get think about it. Think about all the how long women have ghosted men. And now that the shoe is on the other foot, now that men have the power and men get to dictate, because it used to be women that decided relationship. Now men get to actually dictate relationships and sex. It's a new thing. So when these women aren't getting it, they're crying like that woman in that video earlier. That warms my heart. It's like that should be like a Hallmark video.
But I don't like those videos though. I don't see them as.
I love them. There needs to be more of them.
I don't, because I know that it's not genuine. Like, that's not real.
Exactly, but it's a self-inflicted wound. If you shoot yourself,
but it's not real though, because it's not real. It's just them trying to get attention. Like, that ain't like, if they really felt that way, they'd switch their behavior. Like, they don't give a fuck.
No sir.
That's not real.
They're incapable of switching their behavior because society still empowers them to behave that manner. But
they switch when it benefits them to switch. They know how to switch. That's why they know how to find a provider when they've got the fucking kids. They know how to switch. They just don't want to. And the thing is, like, I hate those videos because, like, I just feel like it's like a false flag. Like, it seems like something's happening, but it's not. It's just them being mad because a few guys that are, like, in their eyes 10 out of 10s on Tinder didn't call them back. It's like, well, duh, like, he's not a regular dude. Like, what did you think? Like, that's like getting mad that Future didn't text you back. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? Like, you know what I mean? They're not complaining about the regular Joe Schmo who's just doing his job at Amazon. Like when it gets to that point, then okay, but like, it ain't there yet. We're not there yet. Like, we're not at that point where they care about the regular dude yet.
But that's what Ted and I just discussed. I mean, it's only the top 10% that they care about, but those guys have so many options that they're gonna get rejected. So regardless of them, not crying over not crying over regular dudes, the fact that they're still that they're the ones who set this precedent, and it's slapping them in the face is still human. I find humor.
No, I get that. I get what you mean. Yes,
it's still a self-inflicted wound.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, I don't know. I just don't like seeing women going on social media because it's just, to me, it's like It's just the tension. I do like the comments though. If the comments the guys cussing them out, I'll enjoy that because guys say some funny shit. But them just crying about it, like it's like whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, so and I would say that there is they are genuine when they are crying because they're crying because they honestly feel that guy who's the 10 should be fucking them too because he's making the other women that he's fucking and not fucking them, he's making them feel prettier than they are. So those tears are genuine.
Oh well.
Trust me, those tears are genuine. But that's what's happening. When the guy who's getting, when he rejects them for another woman, they feel that he's making that woman feel like she's prettier than them, and they all, at the end of the day, they all think that, that they're one giant monolith of 10.
Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
I've dated girls before who've cried over me because I rejected them, like not like straight away, but like the same thing where you're with them for a while, then they tried to put the relationship thing on you, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good, and then they start crying, and I'm not gonna lie, like I don't think it's funny because it's the same thing to me. It's like it's a manipulation tactic, and it's not gonna work, And I feel bad. I almost pity you for thinking that I'm actually that fucking dumb that it's gonna work. Like I almost like it's like you really think it's like that. No, it's not. But I feel it's just funny, like, because something is that it's like it's like you said, it's self-inflicted, but it's like it's so tragic in a way. It's like they do it to themselves, but it's like you just gotta think, like, why do you do that? Like, because they know what kind of guy you are. Like they know, like you will tell a girl straight up, I'm not interested in doing XYZ with you. I don't want nothing serious. And they'll still start crying their eyeballs out because their entire mission is to try and change you to be that dude. It's ridiculous. Like, it's like, what, just no,
Look at the men they call fuckboys, right? Now, think about it. Think about the name fuckboys. There's no man that came up with that term to describe other men because, as men, we're not going to be that jealous of other dudes getting pussy to the point where we sit back and say, oh, he's a fuckboy. No, that's a term that they came up with because that's who they were giving all the pussy to. But at the same time, they couldn't hold that guy down. So them and their infinite wisdom thought that they would call him something derogatory by calling him a fuckboy, but still fucking him.
Part of the problem is they think they're so much smarter than men, and this is where the problem comes, because if you're not smarter than the person, but you think you are, you tend to overestimate yourself and believe that you're outsmarting them while they're telegraphing your every move, and you find yourself in the dilemma, and then you say, I got used, and he abused you. You make up all these excuses instead of saying, I wasn't as smart as I thought I was.
Right. When the smartest thing you can do sometimes is just admit you don't know something or something's above you, because then it's a teachable moment for you. And that's the difference between men and women. Women can never admit that they don't know something or someone's smarter than them, because then that means that they would have to become the student, or that rug would be pulled out from under their feet, and that they're not as smart as they think they are. As men, we accept it. There's a lot of shit I don't know, and if I don't know it, and you know it, I'm going to use that opportunity to learn it from you.
Well, men have a hierarchy. Women don't like the hierarchy because they won't be able to compete in a male hierarchy. So the past few decades has been eliminating and wiping out the male hierarchy. We have it on the playground. We understand how to play with one another based on a hierarchy. Who's stronger, who's smarter, who's more resourceful. We understand all those things. Myth Twist, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I've kind of forgotten now.
Well,
but yeah, here's the ironic thing, Ted. The ironic thing is women used to know that because it used to be a mating strategy for them to keep from being alone. See, some of the things they do is part of their biology. It's how they were designed to secure a mate to for protection and everything. But now I think with the government has provided such a safety net for them that they don't have to revert to their biological nature.
Yep, yep. Right. Safety nets. Yep, that has created a lots of unforeseen consequences. That's one of them.
Well, that's the thing. The main two primary things a lot of guys would offer them is provisions and protection. But it's like if the state is able to do that, and then they're also able to pass, to provide for themselves. Like, it's funny to me, and I keep saying it, but it's just funny to me that aspect of traditionalism is still being said by women when they don't want anything traditional. Like, according to the whole feminism thing, anyway, because it's like, why would you say? Like, I just don't like. I just don't understand how a guy in 2021 takes a woman, like, listens to them and thinks, yeah, like, she knows what she's talking about, because the amount of simps that are out here, I just can't fathom it. Because it's like, if you listen to them for 5 seconds, this doesn't make a lick of sense. Like, here's the thing, in a weird way, I get what they're doing. Like, this is the thing about it. Like, I get why they're doing what they're doing, but it's not straightforward. And that's why, like, I'm just saying, I don't understand how most guys on the face of it, how they're even like listening to that shit. Because it's like, unless you really think about it, it doesn't make any sense. But when they're sitting there and saying, "Oh, I want traditional," we don't need to be like traditional, or we can do different things as 2021, blah blah, and then they'll say, "Oh, but men should pay for dates." Or they'll say, a man should be a provider and he should protect and blah, blah, blah. But then they also talk about toxic masculinity and sexism. And it's all the same things you were saying, like both of you were saying earlier. Like, if you're a sexist guy, you're going to do the traditional things. Like, it's not sexism, it's traditionalism. But in this day and age, a lot of the traditional behaviors come under sexism. But it puts women and men in a weird place, because it's like, naturally, a lot of us want to do the traditional things, women included. But even if you're like a woman who wants to do those things, you feel some type of way because you're under an ideology that's telling you that's wrong. So, or at the very least, it's like, it's not clear if it's right or wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it's hard to tell, because some women will say, yeah, you being a mum's fine. But then other women will tell you that that's not you doing enough. Like, why do you want to do that? It's a confusing environment for everyone. Like, men and women, it's just messed up. So it's like, and anyone who tries to make sense out of it has to bring the hard facts about biology and nature. And most people don't want to hear that, men or women. Like, I don't think even a lot of men want to hear it, because a lot of men are feminists to the point where they don't want to hear the truth. They ain't ready. You start telling them what women are really on, they don't want to hear it, because then they start thinking about their mom or their sister or their daughters, or and they just can't take it. So. Yep.
No, well, that's well said. Great points, and I think maybe the big point of what you said is most men in the Western world are feminists.
Yeah, yeah. Do you watch Poor Man's Podcast, Ted?
No, I never heard of it.
Yeah, he did a video the other day where he played a video, and this video had to be from the 70s, maybe even the late 60s, right? Where they were asking all these women about feminism and how they felt about women taking over. Every last one of those women said that they were scared of what would happen if women would take over. They said they didn't want to. They didn't want to be. I'll send the video to you. They said they didn't want to be under women's rule. They said the thought of a woman controlling anything scared them.
Well, I mean, just look at today. Most women would prefer to have a male boss instead of a female. That still holds true today.
They would prefer to have male friends rather than female friends. They look and they see men, socializing and everything, and they understand how, genuine it is, how if those men needed something, that they would all have each other's back. And they know that women aren't like that. Women will say to your face, yeah, I got your back. But what they really mean is, behind your back, I'm going to try to fuck your man. So they know, how toxic women are to be around. So they don't want to even hang around women. most women prefer to have male friends and prefer to be in male company instead of females.
Yep. There are a
I
lot.
think a lot of that. I think a lot of that's to do with attention, though, as well, and the manipulation thing. Like they know, like what value do they get out of being around mostly women? They can't. They can't manipulate them the way they manipulate men, and they can't get the benefits of male attention from women. So it's like I can see why they'd want to be around men more because It's just like with. I don't want to say it's just like with men because I don't think we're as clear cut as that, but I mean, like, it's like I think like I don't know. I just think that in women's case though, it's the attention thing and manipulation. Like, I don't think they really care about men necessarily any much more than women. It's just about themselves.
So I know a woman who's bisexual, well educated, and she started dating this woman. I didn't meet the woman, but according to her, it was an attractive woman, physically fit, wore size 4, and at some point, the woman I know, I'll just say she's well educated. She's a professional. Let's call her a professional. The professional woman was going to. She owned an expensive SUV, and she was selling it, and she wanted to buy a Lexus. And so that's what the professional woman was going to do. Well, her girlfriend, who was also bisexual, had been divorced and had, I think, one child. That woman said, well, if you're going to buy yourself a car, buy me a car. I want a Lexus too. She said, well, I can't afford, I have a company. Let me show you how much I make. And I put this money aside as part of my, retirement. I can buy you a Camry. I'll buy you a brand new Camry. I won't buy you a Lexus, but for myself, I'm buying a Lexus. So here this woman is arguing with her and saying, well, if you don't buy me a Lexus too, this relationship is over. And so she said, well, I just can't afford it. And she said, well, I'm gone. I'm out. So this is 2 women. So so I said to the professional woman, I said, well, welcome to a man's world. Because, I mean, there are a lot of men wouldn't have let it go that far. But you got the sense that a lot of men get where women are trying to put demands on you, that you are obligated, like she's entitled. That woman felt like she was entitled to a Lexus. She technically wasn't entitled to any car. She should have been nice that the woman was going to buy her something, but she wanted a Lexus, not a Toyota Camry, not a brand new Camry. So yes, women will exploit one another also. It's not just limited to men, is what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, and yeah, they don't truly understand what men go through until they become lesbian or until they have sons. And a lot of times, you can't even get them to admit some of the things they're doing is wrong until you pose a question. How would you feel if a woman was doing this to your son? And then that's when they have the moment.
Unfortunately, not all.
Yeah, no, not all, but
some women
some.
just wouldn't care if that happened to their son. They wouldn't care.
Yeah, I do think though, like I have seen the same things what you're saying though. I do think generally like it does tend to stop a lot. Like it does tend to get a lot more of them thinking, and also because it's just like, do they want to look bad and say, I don't care about myself? Like, I mean, the women who don't care, they just must be like unhinged. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, I mean, what kind of chick's gonna sit there and even throw her son on the bus like that? Like, and actually be a decent person,
A lot of women have set their sons up to be exploited, though.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but admitting it openly like that, I mean, I don't know.
You remember the Maury show? There's a show. Steve Wilkos. I don't know if you know Steve Wilkos is. He's Jerry Springer's old.
Right. I
Oh,
know.
God, yeah.
Well, on his show one time there was a guy who had a set of twins by a girl, and they were, toxic relationship on and off. When she got mad at him, she would tell him, "Well, that's all right, because they ain't your kids anyway. Just to hurt them, right?" So he took her to Steve Wilkos to try to find out if these were actually his kids. Of course, the DNA comes out that it's not his kids, and his own mother came up and said, "Well, them your babies anyway, and they need a father." And it's like, wait a minute, that's his. Now he can now get away from this toxic ass woman, and he's now released of the financial burden of having to pay for these two kids that aren't his, and you're trying to feed them to the wolves.
That's a great example, Chris. That's what I mean. There are too many women who set their sons up to be exploited and will still stand by them being exploited and not support them. That's a
right. Women do it all the time. Hey, I know them ain't your kids, but them kids need a daddy. So let that bitch go find who the daddy is. She wasn't worried about who the real father was when she was cheating.
Right. That's paternity fraud. I mean,
yeah. And it's so prevalent in society today because, of women, raising all the kids. So now because women raise these boys, they can, like you said, they can shame these boys into taking care of kids or not even asking for DNA tests.
Well, they'll tell them that's your job. You're a man, so you're supposed to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
Still
and these boys don't realize, they don't understand how the law works. They don't understand that they should ask for a DNA test before they sign that birth certificate. Because, once you sign that birth certificate, the state doesn't care. The state just wants a wage slave.
Well, I grew up, my parents had high school friends, and they had children that were same age as my brother and I, and they had a son. He got married, and his father demanded at some point that his son get a DNA test, and found out it wasn't it. Like this father was really standing for his son. He was very protective. Like he had an inkling that wasn't his son's child.
Right.
So I don't know what conversations the full breadth of the conversations, but he pushed it that his son get the DNA test, and found out it wasn't his. And like you said, now, son, you're free of any obligation. You can walk away, divorce this woman, and get away from her.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. But that was his father driving that.
His mother would just tell her, well, you're the only daddy these kids have known. So, I understand she hurt you, but the kids don't deserve to be hurt. Fuck them kids. The men, they don't understand it. As men, we have a very, fuck them kids attitude. We only care about our offspring. If it's not our offspring, we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you want to leave insurance. You want to leave, your blood. It's your bloodline that you want. There's a certain caliber of a man that you want to carry on your name.
Right, and you can't necessarily ensure that the DNA that those children have in them from that other man is going to grow to be an upstanding, person or an intelligent person.
Right. So myth twist.
They gotta be allowed to discipline them.
Right, exactly. Myth twist. I understand what you're saying, but there just are. Look, I would say a lot of women see reality by having sons. I remember a business meeting I had with a woman, and she was telling me, she was divorced, had two sons, and she said she never realized how mean girls are until she watched how the girls interacted with her son. And she said for the first time she could, and her sons were like preteen, I think. She said she just was shocked to see that girls can actually be mean to boys. So she was very protective of her sons, but she had a new reality of how boys and girls interact. So definitely that happens a lot. What's going on, Big Exclusive? Good to see you in the house, man. You just getting here late or what? What's up with that, man? And yes, it's not about screwing the kids. It's about knowing the truth before going into a relationship.
Right. But these women, they want the freedom of consequences from their for the action. So they know that they've been cheating on you, and they were hoping that you wouldn't ask for that DNA test. And even when they got the DNA test, they were still hoping there would be your kid. They were hoping that your swimmers would be stronger than than his, even though they knew they were having sex with him more than they were having sex with you.
Right.
But when the truth hits them in the face, they can't accept that reality. So now they try to shame you into, taking care of kids that aren't yours, and they will even use your mother. I had my own mother to try that with me. She called me telling me, one of my exes, I seen the baby. The baby looked just like you. I'm like, what? So I called this girl up, and I'm like, man, look, I don't want to get hit with, a child support, order, 5 years, and I'm 5 years in the rear, and I never get caught up for accident. She's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. This boy don't look like you. Thank you. That's all I need to hear. You'll never hear from me again. And that was the last conversation I had with that girl. And this is a girl I've known since I was 6 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah, her mother and my mother, like, we're best friends. Like, yeah, bitch, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, women will throw their sons under the bus. They don't care. I have a coworker who he was a programmer. I had a coworker. I won't say his name because hopefully he doesn't find the show. But he was a programmer. He wrote code and everything. And when he got his first job as writing code and everything, and his first paycheck, he went out and bought a brand new Nissan 240 SX, 200 SX back then, I think is what they were. Way back in like the 80s. I think they were 200 SXs. They might have even been Datsuns back then too.
Yeah.
But anyway, he bought this.
I remember.
Yeah,
that.
he bought this car, right, and he was proud of it. This was the apple of his eye, because it was a major accomplishment from his achievements. That he used the purchase from all of his achievements and everything. Well, one day he comes in from work, goes to take a nap, and he left his keys on the coffee table in the living room. His sister, who's in high school, gets home from school, sees his keys on the table, decides to take his brand new sports car out joyriding, totals it.
Oh, wow.
And his parents told him to just let it go, just take it for a long. I was like, oh hell no, no. I said I would be in Hades right now, still choking that bitch. But he did. He let it go. He didn't say a thing to her. And I'm like, he didn't make her. They didn't make her get a job and try to pay some of the money off or pay him back. At least
no consequences. Zero consequences for
zero consequences.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of adult she grew up into. That's a hell of a lesson to teach a child.
Well, the kind of adult she grew up into was the same kind of she was as a teenager. Because even to this day, his older sister, who is completely opposite of her, they get along. He gets along with her, but neither him nor the older sister like the younger sister because of that, that sense of entitlement she has.
Someone said, I hope he didn't say a thing to her for the rest of his life.
No, he actually still kissed her ass and did a whole bunch of shit for her. And I was like, dude, I think you were just born to be a simp,
Someone. So back to the conversation about the guy taking care of children that are not his. It said men have been brainwashed to think a real man will care for another man's kids if he loves the woman. Is why I keep saying love has nothing to do with creating a great relationship.
Right.
Captain Savaho. But then someone asked a good question. Do you think the mother is saying that because of a biological desire to have a grandchild? He said, I know lots of grandparents want grandkids. What do you guys think of that?
I do think that's part of it because my mother is, she mentioned before that, she wants grandchildren. I said, okay, your daughter's got 3. Go play with them motherfuckers, I'm going to have children, when I want to have children, not because something you desire. I'm not going to, those are bills. I'm not going to create bills just because you want to see me with a bill.
Right, right. What do you think, Myth Twist? What do you think of that? The whole grandparent. You have to give me grandkids, even if they're not yours.
No, I was gonna say the same thing actually, because that's what I was thinking as well. Like that's the only reason I could think for why mom's gonna say that. Like is because she's just thinking about like, 'cause I think Chris said something about like on the show when they were saying like, oh, or they're like those kids, you're the only dad they've known. It's like that sounds like she's been around the kids as well. So that's why she's saying that. You know what I mean? Because it's like she's formed a bond with them, like they're her grandkids. So that's why she doesn't want him to leave, not necessarily because she wants him to be a stepdad for being a stepdad's sake, but because it's like it's taken away her ability to be a grandmother. You know what I mean? So I think that might be definitely part of it, especially if she's been exposed to the kids before.
Interesting.
So yeah. But I mean, like, at the end of the day, guys shouldn't feel pressure to do it because it's your life. Like, you know, it's the same thing. Like, if I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm still fairly young, but like, my mom said it to me as well. My mom's not that old, so it's like she's, you know what I mean? Like, she's not that old. Like, she's, but the thing is sometimes I sit there and I think, like, it is pressure. Like, even though I don't actually get pressured, like, no one really sits there and says to me, you need to have kids. Like, like some guys I know, their parents make it almost like if you don't have kids, like you're a failure. Like, it's not that extreme for me, but it is. I don't know. It's like I do feel a bit weird. Like, what if they passed away and I just didn't have any kids? Like, it does make it, especially because I'm the oldest of my siblings as well. So it's kind of like I don't want to. I don't know. I kind of do get where they're coming from. Like, I get why parents want that because it's like I get it, but it's just like there's so many things that are so sentimental that we just cling on to because of feelings or because we just, oh, it'd be nice. But it's like if logic's not matching up with it, sometimes you just can't do those things, Like if you're not in a position where having kids makes a lot of sense, just you know what I mean? Because like one of my close friends, he had a child recently.
They don't take all the
a daughter.
They don't take into account all the factors.
But that's another thing.
They don't understand how it's not the same for them, for you, as it was for them when they had children. They don't understand how dangerous it is for men to have children now. So that's why they would still pressure you. But when your life can be completely ruined because of children, then it's look how many men commit suicide over child support.
Right.
When that much something so simple could ruin your life, of course, and you have the power to not do it. Of course, you're going to be gun shy. You might opt out of it.
That's why, though, as a guy, it's so important to be able to like just separate from when someone's talking, like just talking from feelings. Because a lot of the time when they're saying those things, like you said, they're not thinking logically. Like it's purely just like, oh, yeah, da da da. Like it's not. They're not. It's so, up in the clouds, airy fairy. Like they're not thinking on the ground about things. Because if you sat down and actually broke it down to them, unless some parents might just not care. I don't know, but like any parents that actually are somewhat smart, like are gonna know. Yeah, okay, maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense right now.
So
right. Well, your dad probably will. So most moms still won't care, I don't think.
Speaking of things that don't make sense, I'm going to play this and tell me what you guys think of this woman's philosophy.
I believe that every woman should cheat on their boyfriend or their partner before they get married. You cheat on him because you need to know, sis. You need to know if this man really loves you. If you cheat on him and he doesn't leave you and he stays with you, he still want to be with you, he still want to build with you, he still want you to have his kids, he still want to pay your rent, you got yourself a winner. Because you need to know if this man is loyal. Is he going to stand behind you for better or for worse? You need to know these things. When things get hard, is he gonna be there? You need to know to make it forgive and forget. Most women cheat before they get married, anyways. Let's be honest. And most men be lying anyway. You need to know if y'all can hold each other down when things get hard. And cheating don't ever stop a man from loving me. For real, for real. You're not gonna stop loving me because I cheated. And I'm not gonna stop loving you because you cheated. We're gonna figure this shit out together. On God. I believe that
And there are some women out there that are actually stupid enough to listen to it too. I'm telling you. I said this in somebody's, I think it was in O'Shea Jackson's comment section earlier. I said black women were created by God for memes. This woman is a
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oof.
They're just dumb. They're just dumb. And when you give them the opportunity and the platform, they'll show you how dumb they are.
God.
That woman's an
She's
idiot.
really sitting up there with that wig and those nails, thinking she's doing something. Like she really, bruh. I can't take it serious. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. How are guys in this day and age really watching this shit? Like, damn, man, I need to take these chicks out for dinner. Like, come on, man. I just don't get it. Like,
Right. I can't understand how guys would be like, yo, man, look at her over there, yo. That's wifey right there. What?
Because the thing is, to me, like, I expect girls to just do this goofiness. Like, this is just whatever. Like, I just, it's this is a dime a dozen at this point. How many times we've seen this nonsense? Like, it's just like, come on, guys, wake up. Because it's like, she shouldn't even have a man to cheat on. You know, she shouldn't even be able to.
I'll say this: there has always been goofy women like this, right? But here's the thing: men never took them serious to the point where we had relationships with them. Exactly. We just fucked them and moved on.
It didn't get them pregnant.
Definitely didn't get them pregnant. You just fucked them, got your dick sucked in the club, in the club bathroom, and you moved on. But you didn't get in relationships with them. You didn't try to marry them, and you damn sure didn't get them pregnant. Nowadays, men are they're fucked up and they're doing all three.
Yeah,
and they're not worthy of it.
I don't get it. Like it's just funny. You know, I honestly think though, it's like a lot of the women who talk on social media though, they tend to be single, you know, so it's like they're just saying stuff like she's probably not even got a dude and she's talking about cheating on a man. She probably ain't got a man to cheat on right now. But she's gonna tell other girls who are probably in solid relationships to go fuck up their situation because, like they say, misery loves company. So she probably, you know, like I just a lot of the time when you look into these girls, they don't have the shit that they tell other women. You know, like they'll be telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing. But girls will even say this, like, you know, girls I know, they'll say it all the time. They'll say that they've got friends who are single, who will try and give them relationship advice and tell them what they should and shouldn't be doing. And you know how girls are, they ain't gonna call them out on it, but they know in their head, like, bitch, you don't even know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So the problem is though, is that with these chicks on social media where maybe they don't know their whole background and the woman's talking like how she's talking with authority, you know, they just think, okay, maybe she knows what she's talking about, or they're just, you know, desperate searching for an answer, so they just follow it. But it's hilarious, man. It's funny.
It's absolutely hilarious. But the fucked up thing is, there's probably some guy out there who said, you know, he will date her, or you know, he will, you know, pay a bill for her. We know for the vast majority of them, they don't have a man paying their bill. That's why they're so pissed off. You know, all these women, I get the bag, and blah blah blah. Bitch, you work at Walmart. You know, you make, you know, $9 an hour. You know. Sit down and shut up. You know, you're not getting any bag.
Yeah, it's overcompensating, basically. Like, I don't know, it's weird. It's not really weird.
Go ahead.
Their cognitive dissonance just won't allow them to escape from this false reality that they create for themselves. They're
Do you
stuck
guys
in a delusion.
do you guys think there'll ever be a day though, like in our lifetime, where the goofiness ends? Do you think it'll ever come? Because
Oh God, no.
sometimes
We haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg.
I know it might sound odd, but try and think about this. So this video we just watched, let's really think about this for a moment. Like that's a real video, this is real. Like this isn't some joke. Like that woman's really sitting there putting that out in real like what I'm
I
trying to
know,
say
right?
is like
It seems like this should be like a day.
like it's not like it's actual real life. Like this isn't a video game. Like this is real. Like because sometimes I'm just trying to. I just have this thing where sometimes I don't know, like I just look at certain things and I'm just like, that's so absurd, but it's actually something that I might have to deal with in my real life. Like it's not just like when you watch something funny on TV and it's cool because it's fictional, right? But it's like that's this is real, like you know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know. I
Like,
just wonder if there'll be a day where we
yeah,
look back on videos like that, almost like we watch comedy TV, like, oh, it's funny people used to actually think like that. How stupid. You know what I mean? Because right now it's real. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. I don't know.
you see something so ridiculous on TV like that. There's no way. Like, it was that movie Sharknado where they had a tornado full of sharks just
Yeah,
going around and eating people.
that
And
movie.
you think like,
Yeah.
no, that's just a movie. There's no way that could happen. And then you step out your front door and a tornado full of sharks just
Yeah, exactly. You'd be questioning your whole reality. You'd be like, how's that real? Like, hold on. That's what those videos are like. That's what they're like for me. It's like, how is a chick so deluded to the point where she really thinks she said something, like she really thinks that was like she watched that back as well before posting it. Like she thought that shit was fire for real. Like
oh shit! She watched it and she still didn't delete the video.
like I don't get it. Put in it, probably tagged all her friends, posted it everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I just, it's not just her. Like, this whole era is breeding people that just make trash that think they're on something, and it's just, it's definitely an interesting time to be alive. I'll say that.
The sad thing is we're not even at the tip of the iceberg, though. Look at
That's why I was asking you guys. Like, do you think it's gonna kind of taper off or get worse?
It's gonna get worse. Look at Venezuela. They had socialism run their country so far in the dirt to the point where there were women that were doctors and lawyers that were having to dig in the trash and prostitute themselves just to feed their children. And they still vote for socialism down there. So they don't learn. So yeah, Venezuela.
Wow.
So they don't learn. So yeah, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get much worse.
Well, I thought you guys would appreciate that video.
Anytime you click on a video and you see a woman talking, you might as well just grab your popcorn and your drink and just get ready to enjoy it. Put every comedian out of business.
I posted that on Facebook, and someone, I think they were upset with me, and they told me the woman is a comedian. So I don't know. Maybe she is, and if she is, it was a good skit, right?
Yeah, because it's hilarious if someone would actually think that's real, like that, in terms of that's actually something you should be doing. So yeah, I hope for her sake it's a skit. I hope it is, because if it ain't,
you're breaking up again. You're breaking up again, Chris. Yeah. So I actually know a woman who told me that all men cheat It's not a matter of if, it's just when. And so I said, well, what if you date a guy who never cheats on you? She said, well, if we're going to get married, I'm going to set him up. I'm going to have a really hot woman come on to him and have sex with him before we get married, just so I can prove that he's going to cheat. And she's not a comedian, this woman. She told me this out of her own mouth. So.
Well, the thing is that it's like, it's funny though, because because when you gave her that situation, the example she used, if she said it the way you just said it, like, oh, I'm gonna set him up and then he's gonna have sex with, hold on, you said if the guy doesn't cheat, right? But it's like she couldn't process it. It's like, no, if I set him up, but he will have sex with, no, he might not.
Right, exactly. And I said that. So what if he doesn't? And it's like, it was like her wires were frying or something. She couldn't comprehend that. Like, no, he has to. It's like, well, why? But in her mind, she just believed all men cheat. And that's when I wrote my book, that was part of the stuff that I talk about in it, how we believe so many things are factual and we never even question them. And so then we engage the world with this false reality. So imagine if you're so convinced that all men cheat, you're going to be treating a man, even though he never cheated, you're going to be treating him like one, and you're going to be constantly protecting yourself from the day that he does, that the guy actually is never getting what he needs from the relationship, and he ends up leaving or cheating, and then the woman says, see, I knew it. That's so it's kind of insane how we are, so many things that we do that kill off possibility and opportunity with us.
But those women don't make sense. If you think all men cheat, then stop dating men then. But they won't do that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But like you said earlier, like you said before, Ted, women, like, all day long they have these conversations inside their head that we're not privy to, but we're responsible for somehow. We don't get to have any input in them, but we're responsible for them having these conversations and the conclusions that they arrive at or they derive it from these conversations.
Well,
yeah, that's really true.
Yep, go ahead, Myth Twist. Go ahead. That's true. Yes, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, that's true. Something me and my friends always say as well is that women will tell themselves a story. Like, they build up like a whole narrative in their head,
Right.
and it's got like a whole plot point and characters. Like, obviously it may not be that detailed, but it's almost like they've got a whole plot set out. And then it's like, if you can't read their mind, then it's like you did something wrong. And I think even recently, wasn't it like Jada Pinkett Smith who was even saying like, oh, I want a man to read my mind or something like that, and it's just kind of like, guys have said for the longest time. I remember when I was little, I used to hear guys always say, who was older than me, like, oh, we're not mind readers. Like, I've always heard guys say that to women, like, we're not mind readers. And it just seems like constantly that's just what women they have this thing where I get it. They don't want to have to, they want guys to be men without having to tell them to be a man. I get that part. But the problem today is that, as I said earlier, like, a lot of guys are growing up not sure what part of being a man they can and can't do. So it's like, we can't take the risk of just doing things. Like, you can't know. We're in a day and age now where you say certain things and it's sexual assault, or you look at a woman, some women are trying to tell you that what you're doing is, the R word or whatever, right? Like, it's like you don't even know what it is. Even the fact that you can't say certain things now or whatever on certain platforms, like on YouTube, because you don't know if you'll get flagged or censored. Like, it's like you don't know what you can and can't do anymore. So it's like, how can you expect men to just, Now, me personally, I kind of don't really, like, in my day-to-day life, I don't really care as much. I don't do things too reckless, but I do kind of push the line. But I know I can kind of get away with it, though. That's the thing. Because I know that women kind of let certain guys break rules. You get what I mean? Like, and if you're not like that, then you're gonna because I've seen it with other guys, like where they'll try and do the same thing and it doesn't play out anywhere close to the same. Like they'll get a completely different reaction, and it's
Yeah,
messed up.
you tell her hey, that your ass looks nice in those jeans. If she wants to fuck you, she'll giggle and say you so crazy and walk off. But if she doesn't, she's not attracted to you. That's sexual harassment, and you gonna get fired.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I asked the girl about this specifically. Like, I asked the girl I was seeing once. I asked her outright about like guys approaching, like on the street, like cold approaching, because at the time I was listening to a lot of different like guys, content creators talking about it. So I wanted to actually just ask some girls something because of what you just said. Like, I asked her like, oh, if a guy just walks up to you in the street and tried talking to you and getting your number, like, you know, do you think that it's cute or creepy when a guy does that? And she said, oh, well, if I like him, then it's okay. And I said, okay, but like, so are you saying if you don't find him attractive, what? Like, what if both guys are equally as confident, equally as like, it's always actually the same. Everything's the same, but you just don't find one as attractive. She was just like, no, like, she said like, oh, not to be rude, but I'll kind of view it like, am I doing something, like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I doing something wrong? Because why did that guy think he could talk to me? So if a guy who's less attractive is approaching her, she's saying that she feels like she's viewing herself like, why would he think he can approach me, kind of thing.
Wow.
Whereas if there's a guy that she's attracted to, she obviously would think like, okay, yeah. But it's like the line between what a girl will say is cute or creepy is literally determined by how she views you in terms of attraction. It's just like it's just messed up, like how it's like it just messed up how that kind of works, man. Because it's like if you just happen to fall on one side or the other, it completely changes the dynamic, And again, this leads to the confusion of why guys aren't sure how to approach certain situations. Because it's like if you see some guys getting away with just outright being what is classified as toxic masculinity because the girl thinks he's attractive, then you're thinking, why can't I do it? Why can't I be like that? You know what I mean? And it's not fair. What do you tell that guy? Because they don't find you attractive? Like, that's just the harsh reality. But it's like, why would he be satisfied with that? If you're a guy, like you're an actual man, you're not gonna want to settle for second best. So you're not gonna want to accept that reality. You're gonna want to, I don't know, like you're gonna want more than that. Like you're not gonna, you know what I mean? But it's just tough. Like it's a tough thing, I think, in this day and age. We all have to kind of deal with, because I think social media is kind of exposing that some guys are picked and others aren't, and that's making it like it's creating a real, like, I think, I don't know what you'd call it, but like I don't know, it's creating an issue anyway, where it's and again it's feeding into the confusion because certain guys can do things and others kind of can't. So
Yep, definitely. Lots of guys who get permission to do things that other guys don't. If we, on the flip side, what I think is amusing is if you reverse that, the genders, and a woman is not attractive and she's in a guy's DMs or something, she feels like she has the right to do that. You follow me on that?
yeah.
And she never quit. So if an unattractive guy pursues her, she thinks, what am I doing wrong to make him think he can approach me? But then when she approaches a guy who's out of her league, somehow she doesn't see that. And I've asked women, I've told women, look, I'm just, I don't find you attractive. You're overweight. I like physically fit women. And they're like, but, then they become aggressive, like kind of aggressive, and say, look, I'll give you whatever you want. I'll do anything. And they're like, well, you're still telling me no. And I'm putting it on a silver platter. I never heard of a man doing that. I'm like, well, I just told you what I like, and you're not that. Like, well, I'll go work out. I'm like, nah, you would have done that already. So it's too late. So,
yeah,
they can't, they like just cannot comprehend that I'm saying no. So if I were to be like that woman and say, well, what's wrong with me? Why these women think they can pursue me? Like, I should have that attitude. And I guess I kind of did, because I asked the woman, I said, So it's clear I'm physically fit. Like this is you see that. Why would you think that I would want a woman who's not like? Why would you think I would want a woman who's overweight? And a woman said,
And I
"Well,
can I can tell you why, because
she
so many
said,
other men
hold
would
on,
accept it.
hold on." She said, "You seem so open-minded that you would accept a woman, it provided she has a level of intelligence, you would accept that." And I was like, "Really?" So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, you just said it, because so many other men would accept it. So
It's
yeah, so many other men would accept
Well,
them.
I understand that part.
Yeah,
I do, and they actually said that. Men don't turn me down, and it's like I just told you what I want. And if you were going to go to the gym, that would have happened years ago. And some of them start sending me pictures when they were younger, and that it was like, so what am I going to do? Have sex with your picture? Like, help me understand.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, why would you send a picture from like 5 years ago? Like, as if, like, if anything, that's just going to inspire me to get
yeah,
someone who looks like you did 5 years ago.
Right, exactly. Like, oh, wow, I saw a girl in the gym who looks just like you did 5 years ago. I'm gonna.
Right.
no, they expect for you to close your eyes and imagine that version of them while you're fucking them.
Yeah, I can see that. That's funny. So yes.
But I'll be honest. I related though to when she said about, like, I got what she meant when she said it about, like, oh, I kind of think what's wrong with me, because I relate to it, because in the sense of, like, it's same thing you just said, Ted. If I've heard girls where they are clearly, like, you just know, and I'm just thinking, like, why are you thinking you can? Why are you like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, because I've had girls who I find attractive approach me, but it's like it's not as common, and generally it's going to be girls who aren't as attractive, and I'm just kind of like, I'm just like, eh. And it's not like they're the worst looking chicks, but it's just like, nah, man. And I have this now even with there was a time where, like, a few years ago, where when I'd be on Tinder or something, I would like meet girls that, I'll just be honest, like, they weren't ugly, but they would be like maybe a 6 or a 5, and I'd just be like, whatever, like, and I don't think it's that deep. Like, I think guys, whether they do dumpster diving, it happens, right? But then the problem is I kind of was just thinking, like, well, I know I don't have to be at that level, and it got to the point where it wasn't about like like, I don't know. It was just one of those things where it's like, I just kind of, like, if I got even the slightest hint of disrespect, like the slightest, I mean, just any little thing, I just kind of thought, nah, like, no, like, I'm above that, and I think it put me off entirely, to the point where I was just like, I don't want to deal with that on any level. Like, I never really got crazy disrespect, but I just mean, there were certain things, or even flaking. There would be girls where I'm looking at them and I feel like I'm doing charity work here. Do you know what I mean? And then they're flaking. Yeah, like, and then they're flaking. And I'm thinking to myself, hold on a minute. How are you flaking? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, and I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is how much, because I know there's other dudes that are probably like me, where it's like, you're above her and he's doing the same thing, but maybe he's not given as much resistance as I am, because I've got standards, and I think girls can tell that. It's very, like, I can't really hide it, and I'm not going to lower it or stop it. So it's like, it'll be small things. Like, a girl might say, oh, I want to go and do this, and I don't want to do what you want to do. And something as simple as that can be the difference between whether she's going to go somewhere with you or go with some other dude, because the other dude might placate to her. You know what I mean? So it's like, I won't do that. So it's just things like that. But I got to a point where I was just like, look, if she don't look at a certain level, I'm not doing it. Because another thing as well is, I don't even want to be outside with a girl if I don't feel like she's on my level. I can't do it. I can't, because it's not good when you're looking better than the girl you're with. It's not a good look.
Yeah, or you're skinnier than her. When you're walking, you look like a human 10, and she's a 0.
Yeah, most girls I've met haven't really been overweight, so I've not had to deal with that as much. There's been a couple times, but I never went out with those girls really. But like most of the time, it was just like I don't know, they wouldn't be ugly. It was just that I felt like, for me specifically, they're just not on the same level. You know what I mean? Like I think for me, a girl has to look kind of like a model, like because it's just she
No,
just
no,
has to be
look,
closer to you.
if she's a 6, it's like she's not ugly, she's just not attractive. But if she's a 7, she's generally attractive. She's not fine, but she's nice looking. But when she's a 6, and women may hate to hear this, but she's a 6 and she wants to be treated like she's a 9. Um, you don't even want to be in public with her, and she's trying to make demands, and it's like, no, you haven't earned the right to make any demands. Sorry, you can't. I
Yeah,
really
it's
you have a nice body and I want to have sex with you.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Your face
That's all
is
it
a
is.
6. Your face is a 6, your body's an 8, almost a 9. And yeah, I have total appreciation for your body. I really would like to have it laying next to me with the lights out, and we can make this happen. But if you think we're going somewhere, we're not. We're not going out in public. So I completely understand that. But the problem is the woman gets used to that. But you know what's really kind? This is a little bit moving in a different direction. The women who are the 8s and 9s sometimes don't act as cocky as the women who are 6s. Like a woman who is an 8 or 9 she knows there are other women out there who are more beautiful than she is, even though she's fine. Um, and sometimes they don't even realize they are as good looking as they are, which I think that's really interesting. But the woman who's a 6 will have more of an entitlement than a woman who is an 8. And listen, I know there are women who are 8s who are extremely entitled. But when they're with a guy who's on their level, it kind of equals itself out.
Yeah, yeah.
So they get a little bit more down to earth, is what I'm really getting at.
Yeah, that's why I say like I'd rather at this point like a girl who is at that level, because in my previous relationship, that's like the type of girlfriend I had. It was a girl who was on the level of where you've got model looks, but you're humbled by it, and you understand you're with someone who's on your level. Like you're not looking at me thinking, why am I with this guy? Like, it's like, I mean, obviously at a certain point she probably started thinking that, but for the most part, for years, it was like, okay, we're at the same level, at least looks wise. So it's like you can't look at me and think, like she used to say to me that there was a time we went out and she said to me that she feels like I'm the hot girl in the relationship. Which was she said that because when we go out, a lot of girls would look at me. So exactly. I guess she said that that's how she felt, like as if she had to watch what other women were like watch out for, and she wasn't. There's nothing wrong with her. She was very attractive, but I guess it's just the fact of because a lot of girls who look like that, they get with guys who. It's like maybe they feel like they have something over him in some type of way. But you see, like the girl I was with, there wasn't really anything she had over me. She wasn't more intelligent than me. She didn't have more money than me. I mean, even looks wise, it's like she wasn't even really beating me there. So it's kind of like, what can you really beat me at? Like, there's nothing you can win at. So it's kind of like, and I think the thing is that not every guy is going to, be able to, not everyone's maybe like that, but I think it's important for a woman, if you're with a woman for maybe not short term doesn't matter, but for like a longer period, I think it is important she kind of does look at you as you're better than her in like pretty much most things, like I don't think she should be sitting there thinking, oh yeah, like he ain't all that and I can do better than him, like because then there's not going to be that respect and reverement, like because her saying those types of things, that was just one of many types of things. Like she would generally think that I was better than her in a lot of ways. And I think that in this day and age, it's rarer for guys to have that in a relationship. It's so common and so much of the fault for the woman to talk down to the man she's with. And a lot of guys just deal with it because they think that's how, oh, that's just how it is, you know, that's just how women are. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, like, nah.
Well, and she'll think.
Hey, Ted, Miss Twister. Hey, man, it's been fun talking. I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you on the Sunday show, Ted.
All right, good enough, good enough. Get ready
See
to
ya.
check anyway, man. Yep. So yeah, she'll think she's doing you a favor, and that's where you have problems. You know,
Yeah.
the woman who I lived with, clearly attractive, gorgeous body. Especially in the beginning, she would be crying some days, saying that I'm not the woman you want. You want a better woman than me. And I'd say, okay, so what kind of woman do you think I would want? And she'd say, you want a woman who's attractive. So I get out a pen and pad and I write down attractive. What else? Smart. And she was in law school at the time. She was smart. And I'd go to, nice body, blah, blah, all this stuff. And then I'd say, so are you attractive? Yeah, she knew she was attractive. She was. And then I'd say, do you have a nice body? I mean, this woman's body was smoking hot. And so we go down a whole list, and she say, "Oh, I made all that. I'm everything that you would want in a woman." So but it was better to have that than to have a woman say, "I think I'm doing you a favor." So
Yeah, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on this, but I'm not sure if any other dynamic really works as well. Like I don't, and it's weird because like a lot of because we talk about society and the different things that like it puts into your head. It made me feel like almost guilty to be with a woman who thinks like that because you get told that if a woman's like that, she doesn't have self-respect and self-esteem, and she doesn't have any pride in herself and confidence. And it's like, something I came to realize is any woman who's with a guy she really respects ends up like this. It seems like it doesn't seem like you can get around it. Like if she respects the guy she's with, she's gonna, everything you just said, they're gonna say things like that. Oh, you want someone else, because I feel like they have to think like that in order to respect you. They have to think they're not the best one. They have to think like, it's like they have to always believe there's this phantom woman out there that's gonna replace them. And if they don't think like that, they won't appreciate you. They'll think, I can just get, whatever, I can do whatever I want, because what are you gonna do? You're like, one of my friends, he recently was like seeing this girl who, she was cheating on her boyfriend with him. And when he asked her about like, he asked her like, don't you think that your boyfriend might cheat on you as well? And she was like, nah, he won't do that. And he was like, well, how do you know? And she was like, because I'm the best he's ever gonna get. It's just like that level of arrogance, and at the same time, she's sitting there fawning over my friend, losing her mind, crying when he's not answering her calls. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why do they do, like, I remember the time when I was so much nicer, and I used to just think like, why do girls do this? Like, why I didn't get it, and I didn't understand why I thought guys were doing something to them, like they were being, like the typical, oh, they're assholes and they're manipulating the women. It's like, no, they do it to themselves. They do this shit to themselves. Exactly. Like they know what it is, and they choose to be in this because it's like the only way they can respect a guy. It's fucked, but it's like, because we were taught the opposite of that, it just seems so, it seems like so counterintuitive to us.
Yep. Hey, Chris, thanks if you're still listening. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the support. And yeah, she's going to listen. If this is why I know lots of guys push this idea of self-improvement, but it is so critically important. They've done studies, and they say when a man wants to move up into a higher socioeconomic class, he chooses a woman who is very attractive. That benefits a man. When a woman wants to move up to a higher socioeconomic class, she chooses a guy who's more intelligent than her. She believes she's going to benefit from that guy's intelligence. And she ends up, and if the guy has the looks that are on the same level as her, and she sees him as more intelligent, you're going to get exactly what we were talking about here. The woman is going to doubt herself, and she's more likely to jump through hoops and do what she needs to do to make things work as opposed to always looking at you and saying, you should be lucky to be here, and you owe me, you owe me, you owe me. So, yep, these are really good points, Myth Twist.
Yeah. No,
So,
yeah, it's just interesting. Just that's that dynamic, I guess. Like, I don't know. So it's just, again, it's just so different to what we're told and what we're led to think. You know, like we just meant to think like it's meant to be the complete opposite of all of that. But yeah, it's just not.
you mean because we're always told we should, like when we're with a woman and we're always told, oh, you should be lucky. You're lucky to have
Yeah,
her.
like that happens a lot. Like, you know, like in my relationship I was in, like that was so common. Like because of how my girlfriend looked, it was always a case of, wow, you're so lucky, right? And even with how she behaved, like what we're describing, you know, jumping through hoops, they couldn't understand that. So they're like, you're really lucky, like, you know, because a girl like that doing all that. And I had to break it down because it was always dudes saying it as well. Like, and I have to break it down to guys like, no, man, like you could have the same thing, but you don't, you know, you have to frame the relationship a certain way. Like, and you know, again, this is the harsh reality of it. And I think it's the in what we're saying, the harshest part about it is because you said, oh, if the guy's more intelligent, you know, and he's on her looks level. See, like, this is the problem though. It's like there's only so much you can control those types of things. And a lot of guys, this is the reality thing about it's like, you know, are you at that level for a certain chick? Like there's certain goals you might want, but you just may not be the right fit for them because they're not going to be able to look at you in that respect, that way of respecting you. And there's goals like that for, I'm sure for you, Ted, and for me, definitely. Like there's goals that are out there that no matter what I do, they're just never going to look at me in that type of way. It's just not going to happen. You know, like,
You know,
it
you
doesn't.
can accept that, right? You can accept that. That's
Yeah, it's
you're
fine.
not
Like that's
gonna
just.
cry about it, right?
Yeah, like it's but the thing is, and what I've come to realize is I think it's easier for guys to accept it when you've experienced having that anyway. You get what I'm saying? Like it's like I know I can get it. So
Exactly.
it's like, well, it's not so bad for me because I've experienced it and I know I can do it again. So it's like, okay, well maybe this girl doesn't appreciate it, but I know there are enough girls who do appreciate it. But the problem is if you're a guy where you've never experienced that, you don't know that it's possible for you. You get what I mean? So then you start thinking like, well, maybe you can do it, Myth Twist or Ted, but like, you know, I've never had a woman give me that level of respect before. So it's like guys start thinking that it's not for them or they can't do it or you know, like, and I think that plays into it. So then, and because they believe that, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where they don't engage in relationships with that mentality. You get what I'm saying? Because for me, I can't go backwards. I was already for 4 years with a girl who looked like my ideal woman and gave me the best like behaviors, but it just didn't work out because of certain decisions that both of us made. But it's like, and I've learned from those things as well, those mistakes. So it's like, but the point is I know with her and based on other girls I've been with, I know a certain level of respect and behavior I can get. So it's like I can't go backwards from that. I can't do it. But before I knew that, it was kind of easier because there wasn't a standard yet. You know, I didn't know what I could get, so it was a bit more all over the place. And I think that's where you kind of end up. Like if you don't know it's possible, you won't maintain that level, you know?
Right. No, I understand. And it's better to have what you call that. I see. I hate using the word respect because I never ask a woman for respect. I never tell a woman you're going to respect me. I never look for, you hear guys talking about submission. I never ask for those things. Do you have any idea why I don't concern myself with that?
No, maybe because you assume it.
That's one way. That's kind of a simple way to put it. So I expect respect in the same way I expect a woman to have a vagina.
Right.
So I'm not hoping that a woman has a vagina. I'm not asking her to have one. Right? If you don't have one, you're not a woman, right? So we're done. Like there's nothing to even talk about. So I wouldn't ask a woman to have respect, because to me that's like asking her to have a vagina.
Yeah, I think that's a good mentality to have though, because if you embody that, it comes across. And again, like I don't really like to put a lot of it on necessarily just what the women will do, but I think so much of it's important about what you're willing to tolerate and accept. So it's like if you already think like that, you won't tolerate, like you just said, there'll be no conversation. So you're not even going to tolerate less than that. There's no whatever it is that you'd view as not being respectful. If whatever that is, it's like if that's there, then that's it. It's over, right? So, but I think a lot of guys don't have that. They don't have that, and so, or at the very least, their level for it is a lot lower. But so it's like because again, we've been brainwashed to accept such mediocre behavior and think that that's okay. And women have as well, so they don't think they have to do much. We all talk about it all the time, like the whole table conversation, then bringing what they bring in, blah blah blah. Like we already know. So, so long as the standards are kind of jacked up like that, it makes it where people don't think. It makes it where people think, oh, women can just do whatever, and yet meanwhile as guys, we're still expected to do a whole bunch of stuff and fulfill a whole bunch of requirements. And something as simple as respect is too much of a ask for certain chicks. And the thing is, and I've tried to explain this to guys though, I know why women are like that. Like it's not helpful for guys, but I get why they lack the respect, and it's because it's too simple for them to get access to men. Like, I think guys that consider themselves good guys, they need to make themselves more scarce. Like, stop being so accessible. Stop making it where women can just easily get you, get your commitment and get whatever out of you, because that's the reason why they don't appreciate that stuff when it's there. And that's why they just think it's a default, because it's like they get it too easily. Like a woman wanting to get a free dinner, that's nothing for her to do that.
Right.
And the fact that it's nothing for her to do that is why we've got problems, because it shouldn't be easy for her to do that. You know what I mean? At least a certain caliber of woman anyway. Now, if there's a certain, but really, I just think most women, like, it shouldn't be so simple, because back in the day, one of the reasons why women were behaving better, it's because of the system and because of the culture and things like that. And because, the average man walking around, even if he was just a dude who worked in a steel mill or in a factory or building roads, whatever it was, he at least understood the separation between a home and a housewife, like he at least understood that. He knew that there's a certain type of woman that he's not just gonna, wife up and bring home. Like there's a certain type of woman he's not gonna have a family with. And there's certain behaviors he's not gonna deal with, even from a woman who's his wife. It's like there's just certain things that's not gonna be tolerated. But at the same time, he lived in a society where the system backed that, and we don't now. So
exactly.
That's the other issue.
Well, and what the system that we have was created by men, not by women. So why would men want to ever give that up? And it's
I have no idea.
Chris said earlier, in either was late 60s or early 70s, they asked a group of women, how would you feel if women controlled and ran everything? And those women said they wouldn't want to live in a country like that. So women know better. So what I just said is respect is like having a vagina, right? So if you don't have either one of them, why, we're not talking. And you said something good. Men find that kind of awkward, right? Like they're not accustomed to being in that position. And so one of the things, and I haven't said it in a while, men cannot be afraid to have a woman walk on eggshells. So when a woman says to you, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells with you, you've got you may have something worth keeping. if she meets the other, like intellectual and physical, you know,
Yeah.
she says, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, but what she didn't say is I'm leaving. She says, I feel like I have to do so much right for you. I'm walking on eggshells. Like, what is the problem? Like, then she understands there are certain standards and behaviors. She has to meet certain criteria. And if she doesn't, then everything crushes and she has no value. So if she's walking on eggshells, most likely she's trying to think of ways to be valuable to you so that she can stay in your life. And so men shouldn't feel awkward about that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because again, like that was exactly the type of thing I heard before from that same girl who was saying the same thing to me I was in a relationship with. That is these verbatim something she said to me was, well, she actually asked me as a question. She said to me, she said, "Oh, like, do you think it's normal that I feel like I'm walking on eggshells with you?" That's what she said. She asked me, so she didn't just say it, like state it. She asked me like what I think about that. And I told her, I said, well, you know, like, look, I said, I said, the reason why you probably, well, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I said something to the effect of the reason why you probably feel like that is because, you know, like what you said, like, because I have standards, you know, and because you actually care about trying to meet those standards, you know. And I was thinking that part of the reason why she probably asking that question, because, you know, in my generation, I'm sure women who are older do as well, but especially in my generation, like, girls are so brought up with social media that it really, really does affect the way they think about things. So it's like a girl could be just look at one Instagram post and then all of a sudden, like, it gets her thinking about something that she never thought about or she didn't care about before. So now, you know, she comes to you saying some shit like, oh, you know, what do you think about, like, she could have, for all I know, she saw something that said, you know, ladies, if you feel like you walking on your eggshells with your man, you need to, like, she could have easily seen something like that. So now you come to me and say, do you think that's okay? And I think part of that was like a soft shit test to kind of see, like, are you gonna hold frame and say, yeah, it is what it is? Or are you gonna kind of break down and say, oh, you shouldn't feel like that? And I didn't. I said, yep, look, that's what it is. And you know, and if you if you respect me, then the consequence might just be you're gonna feel like that. You know? So to me it was normal. I was actually happy when I heard when I heard asked that question. I was glad. I was, because I thought exactly what you thought. Like, exactly what you said. And this was years ago. I was probably like 21. I was probably younger than that. I was probably like 21, 20 at the time. And I remember when she said it, I was just like, yes, like that's right. That's what you should be saying, you know, like that's the correct thing. But again, I just think a lot of guys have maybe never even heard that, you know, like, and it's like getting to that point where you even have a woman think like that. I think because for me, it became the default in our relationship. You know, I didn't sit down and think, I want her to feel like she's walking on eggshells. It just naturally happened that way because of how I am. I can't accept a certain level of behavior. I can't do it. I don't know. I can't do it. And I won't lie, it makes life harder. Like, compared to some guys, like, for example, you might not get, you might, like, I think, I could be wrong on this, but I personally think a lot of girls that are in the West today, and this is one of the reasons why I don't really think, you know, it's as easy for you to have a long-term relationship. It's not hard to get in a relationship for a guy when you're like that, because a lot of girls want to lock you down. But the difficulty is maintaining it, because you're asking for a certain level of behavior that a lot of them are no longer built for, you know? So it's like it exhausts them and they can't deal with it. They can't keep up with it. And they don't feel like they should have to. It's too demanding. It's like, why should I do that when I could just be with a guy who's got less standards and, you know, he'll let me do what I want? Why should I have to? You know, so it's like only women who really suited to that will stick it out. And I think it's just that. So guys that have like that level of standard will get, I think, the best like type of relationships, however long it lasts. It's just that we might it might not always last as long, you know, because women might not want to maintain it. because of how much demand it might be for them. Or they might get tired of feeling like they're walking on eggshells, because they might enjoy it for a while, but after a point, they might not like it anymore, or they might not feel like it's worth it. I don't know. I think it's just about them thinking that it's worth it's worth the tension, it's worth like being in that situation kind of thing.
Yeah, well, the way women's brains work, they create that tension and anxiety for themselves. It has nothing to do with the man. They're already thinking that. So, and like you said, the woman said, you're like the hot girl, right? So, uh, they're afraid of you getting attention. I mean, the other woman I lived with was half Asian and half Hispanic, half Dominican. Um, and she listen, when some days I walked down the street with her, I thought I was gonna have to fight some days. But the way guys looked at her, whether they were walking or in a car, like it was incredible. And she was 20 years younger than me. um, but she is as attractive as she was. uh, she would freak out. Like, let's say we go to a restaurant and the hostess greets us, and I make a joke by saying my name, and I was, I'd say I'm Ted Santos, and uh, I was told you were going to put me in a VIP seat. So, and the girl starts giggling, kind of flirty, and she doesn't look as good, or she looks just as good as my woman. But my woman is freaked out over this whole thing. And I've said nothing to flirt. I'm not being flirty. I just made a statement. So she was always on edge about whether or not she was good enough in terms of looks, and she was definitely attractive, like no question, no doubt. But so it's better to have her on edge like that. And she anticipated we would live together, but like you were saying, women get influenced by other things. So she had and this becomes the other problem. It can be even without social media, this happens. She can have Women have girlfriends who are a little bit envious of them and will give them bad advice and watch them destroy their relationship and then say, "Hey, come hang out with me,"
Yeah.
that kind of thing, because they hate seeing one of their female friends have a relationship that they don't know how to get to. And they may say this guy's got you walking on eggshells and try to destroy that, but it's you. I think most women get influenced. Period. Um, I was thinking about this earlier today. So it's just a matter of you being able to really solidify things so that she's less influenced, and whoever's attempting to influence her, you want her to be able to come to you and tell you what other people are telling her, uh, so that you can help her make better decisions, especially if she's young in her 20s, especially for that. So walking on eggshells is good. I think I know there are a lot of men out there saying things that are good and healthy for men, but I think there's a big gap in really giving men the kind of power that women actually want from them. Even though we're saying, and I heard you say some women may get tired of walking on eggshells, but here's what I'm willing to bet. If she leaves you and goes to some other guy with lower standards, she's going to miss those eggshells.
Yes, she is. Yep. 100%. Yes, she is.
Because a man with higher standards also understands he's responsible. Like, if I'm going to have high standards, that means I'm also responsible for creating an environment that supports high standards. So that means what I'm offering is a higher standard also. And so there's some value for the woman in that. And even if she leaves, she's going to come back. This half Dominican woman, I ended that relationship in 2012, and man, she's been still coming around and cooking for me. Like, I didn't ask, I didn't call her. She still comes around. I haven't done anything with her, but and she has said on numerous occasions that she said she knows that she screwed up. So they know, and that's so I deal with women. I don't ask for respect. I don't ask her to have a vagina. Uh, these are things that are just given. You don't even ask for them. And I also have an attitude of, if you think you can find a better deal, go. I don't want to hold you up. Leave. Just go.
Yeah. Yeah.
If men could stand in that, uh, but you really do. And going back, and maybe I didn't finish the sentence. There's got to be a commitment on the man's part to develop himself, your mind. It's great if you're good at something, like, your career, you have a hobby, those are good. But really, ultimately, you need to develop your mind so you're a clear thinker and you actually can provide a lot of guidance and direction. Not like the woman is too dumb to think for herself, but that your input in her life makes her better off with you than she is without you, which that means you have to be a man who's a clear thinker and can have conversations on many different levels about many topics, not just the things you know. And so that's a place that I stand, that men have that kind of way of being in the world so that they end up with less problems from women. And I'll shut up there.
Do you think a lot of guys want to guide women though? Because I've came to the same conclusion that it's important to do that, to kind of take on that kind of like a teacher role, like a mentor. I don't know if you call it mentor, but
relationship with a woman, then, if they don't understand that that's an important role for a man to play in a relationship.
But this is why do I say a lot of guys are just feminists though, like, because they don't get that, like they don't. It's like, again, like I think it's almost like they see it like as if it's like there was it's always an argument of like, oh well, I shouldn't have to do that, I shouldn't have to, and it's like that's like it's just interesting. I get what they're saying, yeah, I only get what they're saying because I get what feminism's been teaching them, and but the thing is, I know in reality that's not how it works, because no matter, even with all this feminism, women can't help but accept and even say themselves that they want guys to still have more than them. This is why they keep complaining, saying, "Oh, we can't find guys that make more money and blah 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 and whatever." Because it's like they're just always complaining about. They want you to be able to lead them and be in a power position. So it's like, but there's guys out here who really think that in doing that, like somehow it's like they're demeaning themselves or demeaning the woman, and this is like relates to kind of what I said earlier about. Sometimes it's like you're taught to think that those things are wrong, or like that the woman doesn't have standards, or that if she accepts that dynamic, then she's a slave, or whatever, and these are the types of things that put guys off of doing it. And that's why you're never going to get that type of relationship out of any woman. The thing is, it doesn't even have to be long term, but in short term as well, you won't get it like that, because it's going to be so much of your relationship is going to be predicated on her thinking that she's better than you, or her setting things up the way she wants to set things up. Like, even with the dates, I don't even like going into the woman's environment in a date. I don't even like doing that, like some guys do it and whatever, but I don't like doing it. I'd rather, like, I don't care what it is. It's like, I'd rather make her come to me, whatever it is. If I'm saying, like, we're going to do this, I'm saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. And most of the time, you played that video earlier of the compilation of the girls crying or whatever, and one of the girls said, "Oh, he just said to me, I want to go to the park and walk around." I was like, that's exactly what I do. Like, that's all I'll do, is I'll just be like, I want to go to the park. And there's so many things I do on, especially like on online. Like, there's so many things I do that I like filters, because it's like, if I say to a girl, I want to go for a walk in a park, like, she's not stupid. That is like one of the cheapest things I could possibly say I'm gonna do. So if the girl is still okay with that, well, she can't be trying to finesse me or get a free meal. How are you gonna do that?
Exactly.
You can't do that, right? So it's like, I just do things like that where it's like I limit what she can do, because any girl who's on there thinking, oh, I'm gonna get something out of him, well, the moment I say that, she's gonna stop responding, and some do. But it's a filter. That means I don't deal with the BS later on. Because you see, what a lot of guys will do is they'll just say what they think the girl wants to hear. So they'll be like, okay, well, You know, I'll say, oh, I'm going to take you here. I'm going to take you to eat this, or let's go and do this activity, something they don't want to do. And they'll go do it. And then they're pissed when, you know, they spend money and then the girl doesn't reciprocate with sex or whatever. And it's like, well, you put yourself in a position to get played. You see, like, if you, because they didn't want to deal with the sting of the girl maybe not messaging back or ghosting or flaking or whatever. They didn't want to deal with that. You get what I'm saying? It's like, but me, I'd rather deal with that than deal with going through all the motions and then at the end dealing with the flake or ghost. That's way worse. You know what I mean? So it's like just getting it out the way. And it's just very, like, if you look at it logically, what I'm saying makes way more sense than, you know, doing it the other way. But it's like, this is what I mean. There's so many little things that I think we do, or that a lot of guys do anyway, that kind of mess us up with our relationships or make things a lot harder than it needs to be. And it's just like, I don't know, just kind of reframing the way we think about things. Just like even little things like that. Because this is what I'm saying. Like, when you have certain standards, you just filter out so much BS. Because most of the time, when I meet a girl, if I've told her that we're going for a walk in the park, I'm going to be honest, that I very rarely get nonsense out of her. Because by that point, like, you know, we already find each other attractive. So it's like, and you're agreeing to do something that's pretty low effort. You're coming over to where I'm telling you to go. So you're being compliant. You know, it's like, there's just, it's not as likely I'm going to get a whole bunch of nonsense out of her, you know? So just things like that just help to lower it so that you don't deal with as much crap, you know, I suppose.
No, you know, and we could, you know, we could go on and on, but interesting, the first woman I lived with, I took her to a free concert. We took the subway instead of me driving, went to a free concert, and we got something to eat after. But it was interesting. We did something else and she paid for it. Like, she purposely went to the bank and she told me, I only have a $50 bill. She said, for some reason, the ATM only gave me a $50 bill. And so she came prepared to pay for something. And we had spoken on the phone several times before that, but free concert, I don't know, we went to some sit down pizza place, Uno's, they call it here. I think that was the name of it. And I don't remember what she paid for, but she pulled her money out and I let her pay for it. But I was surprised. And so those were all good signs, like kind of what you're saying, right? Free stuff. And when I said we're going to this concert, she knew it was free. And she gave me no pushback on that. So
yeah,
those are things that for both men and women need to hear. And you know, when you talk about in the past an environment that supported, dates were sitting on a porch or a walk in a park. That's what they were. They were not all this expensive stuff. Technically, men created this environment of one-upping. Well, if he will take you to get ice cream, I'll take you to a restaurant. Some guy says, well, if he takes you to that restaurant, I can take you to a more expensive restaurant. And then, well, I'll take you to I'll take you on a trip somewhere to an exotic island, and you know, I'll buy you a car. It just got out of control. So guys created that environment, and it's going to be men that have to crush that environment and get things back to normal. And perhaps, like you pointed out in that video, maybe the more women that start speaking like that, the more those women will be happy when a guy says, well, the date is walking in a park, and they will be so happy just to go for a walk in a park. And maybe that's where we've got to get things. So your final thoughts, conclusions, takeaways. Like today, I didn't have a topic. It was just what's on your mind. We're gonna, you know, kind of chilling and talking. I didn't have anything specific, so you know, I kind of let you guys decide what we would talk about. So that works well sometimes. So you know, good stuff on everyone's part. But for you, final thoughts, conclusions, takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say in conclusion. I've said most of the stuff really, but I just, yeah, I do think though, from what we spoke about, like, I do think it is really important for guys to understand that power dynamic like, and to kind of understand, like, have that standard that's just set no matter what, so it's like it doesn't matter what type of girl it is, or even just outside of women in life in general, because again, like, it's not gonna just be like you said it already. A guy who has the standards, he's gonna have an environment that creates the standards. He can't just have it with women. Like, there's some guys like that where they only have a standard for women and then they don't have a standard for anything else in their life. Or it's like that doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna it's not gonna work out. And it's not gonna you're not gonna be covering all your bases, and it's gonna show. It's gonna bleed into one another. Your lack of standards in one area will bleed into the other thing. So you've got to have that certain level. And I think when you're like that, you tend to, it's just your being. You can't switch it off. You can't, like, you know what I mean? You just can't, like, and it's, and like I say, it can feel like a blessing and a curse. So at least, I don't know, at least it did for me at one point, because, sometimes it feels like, like as if it's making life harder for yourself, because it's like you look around and you're like, well, this guy, he can just like he can just get with a goal, and it seems like it's cool, but then okay, like, this girl doesn't really care about him, and like, now I'm at the point where I don't look at it like a curse at all. But there was a period where I used to, because I was still kind of looking at relationships from my old frame, like, of, I don't know, just the old way, like, of how I thought things should be. And so when I was seeing that, I thought that was right. And again, I was thinking certain things I had, maybe that's not right. Maybe the girl shouldn't be walking on eggshells. Maybe that's not correct. Like, but once I experienced it long enough and I saw the results it had, and now I wouldn't have it any other way. I would not have it any other way. Like, and truth be told, it doesn't matter, because, like I said, you can't switch it off. So this is who I am, and I've got to live with it. And the women in my life, the men in my life, everyone in my life, my family as well, like, everyone's got to just, if you're around me, that's just what you have to deal with. And any guys that are like that, I guess I just say to any guys who are watching, who are like that, or who'd like to become like that, don't feel like it's wrong. It's not. And the truth is that most people, if not all people, are going to respect you a lot more for being that person, because that type of guy right now in this day and age is exceptionally rare. Like, most guys are not like that. Most guys are, placating to people and bending the knee and trying to be all, PC, and they're trying to do anything but make people walk on eggshells. And the truth of the matter is both men and women don't really respect someone like that.
Exactly.
So I'd say embrace it. Just be that person and be proud of it. And if you ain't that person and you want to become like that, don't be ashamed of it.
Exactly. But do the work and develop yourself. Just like if you want to be physically fit, you've got to develop yourself. The same with the mind. So, and I've been called the general, by the way, because of that. So I'll take it. Anyway, man, always good chatting with you. One day you'll have to come to New York, and I'll have to go across the pond. I'd love to sit down, and I don't know. I know you guys drink tea over there, so.
Well, yeah, we do. We do. I can't lie.
I'm not a tea drinker. People always ask me, why don't you drink tea? I just don't care about drinking tea. And I'm a virgin because my lips have never touched coffee. So I have virgin lips when it comes to coffee.
Well, you ain't drank coffee? You live in New York?
I've never had coffee in my life.
Wow. That's like being in New York and saying you don't eat pizza or something. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So imagine, I say to women, I say, look, I'm a virgin. And they're like, huh? What? What are you talking about? My lips, I have virgin lips, and they've never touched coffee. And they're like, oh, God, okay. All right. So,
yeah.
Appreciate your time, man. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks to everyone for the super chat. This was a good conversation. I see you guys like having sort of an open mic and talking about what's on your mind. So, look, if you haven't smashed that like button, smash it. If you're not subscribed, good time to do that and hit the bell and share this, because we covered quite a few topics, good stuff. I showed even a funny video. And hopefully it was a comedy, but I'm sure some women do think that way. So, share the video so guys can see what we talked about and what was behind it. And have a great evening, everyone. Good morning for you, Myth Twist, and enjoy your weekend, everyone. Take care and good night. Goodbye.
Peace.
All right.